Everybody awake? Every day should start with Green Day. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We know you have many choices to make every single day, and we're always so very grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You know the drill. Tapping is clapping. Sharing is caring. Liking is loving. If you've not yet joined our team, please consider doing that. There's also a daily gifting goal. If you wouldn't mind contributing to that as well, I think it's hats or something. Do that. That's always helpful. And don't forget about our Discord. Please consider joining the Discord, which is in the link tree that's in my bio. There's all kinds of other stuff that's over there as well. Lots of resources to how to help campaigns across the country, information about joining or starting a chapter of Indivisible, which is the group that's behind the No Kings protests and things like that. So there's all kinds of resources available. Hub of information, also information that we discuss here in the show ends up in our Discord. That's the spot. For those of you, and by the way, yesterday, we always talk about this, and I say this every day, but it's true because you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. We have really intense conversations here, and the chat was just blowing up yesterday. So I want to thank you all for contributing. Seriously. So I have a favor to ask, because as we announced yesterday, actually, I'm going to get a few more people in here. If you guys could continue to like and share the live, because I'm going to do a giveaway. We've got a lot to cover. The UN speech, that is the American president, representing we the people, standing there in the UN, complaining about teleprompters, complaining about escalators, and just delusion, just absolute delusion. I don't even know how else to describe it. And of course, the spin machine attempting to protect him, cover him. He is an absolute total embarrassment. So we'll talk about it. Jimmy Kimmel returned to the airwaves last night. Of course, that's got the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing frauds or convicted felon name on a list. Really upset. But before we go too deep into our conversations today, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but in DC, there was a statue erected. This was apparently, allegedly built on the National Mall with Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein. President Trump was preparing to speak to the UN yesterday. A statue of the Republican leader mysteriously appeared on the National Mall in DC. Here you go. Unlike the gilded installation of the president unveiled last week that praised his supporter of crypto, this most recent statue is not of the flattering sort. A 12-foot piece depicts the president holding hands with late financier and convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein, each looking at each other and smiling. They are both shown balancing on one leg in the middle of what the piece creators describe as a prance. In one of the three plaques affixed to the work's base, which is painted to look like marble, an inscription reads, and this is the inscription. The inscription reads, "We celebrate the long-lasting bond between President Trump and his closest friend, Jeffrey Epstein." Yes, that is across the street from the Capitol in DC. A group called the Secret Handshake Project is taking credit for the surprise protest art piece, which is the third such anti-Trump installation to pop up in the Capitol since June. The group also erected the so-called dictator-approved piece, an 8-foot-tall sculpture of a hand squashing the crown of the Statue of Liberty while making a thumbs-up gesture, and the gold TV statue, multimedia installation in which a golden TV showed images of Trump dancing, including with Epstein. Quote, "We're a very small group of citizens who are using art, irony, and humor to express social commentary and spark political conversation in public spaces," the group said in its statement. The Secret Handshake Project said the piece is in celebration of Friendship Month, a tongue-in-cheek reference to the once close friendship between Trump and Epstein, who apparently self-unaliving in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial on trafficking charges. Trump's administration has come under intense criticism over its handling of records related to this case, rankling many leading voices within the MAGA sphere. The statue is across the street from the Capitol, facing the expanse of the National Mall lawns that lead to the Washington Monument. The Secret Handshake Project said the installation is permitted with the National Park Service and should remain up through the end of the week. How about that? Yes, in case you didn't hear this, there's a plaque that's between them in honor of Friendship Month. This is a reminder that people are out there doing something, and this is a big something. It's like, there's the Capitol. So this way is the National Mall. Yeah, Kankles. That's the best. Yeah, the birthday letter is also on the other side. It's one of 3 plaques, so the birthday letter's on the other side as well. So that's out there. That's people doing work. I freaking love that shit. Okay, I have a favor to ask. 1, 2, hold on a second. 15. I need someone to pick a number between 1 and 15. Whatever the first number I see. 1. Carol, if you're watching this morning, Carol was one of many people yesterday who donated to our daily gifted goal, and anybody who donated $5 or more gets to pick an item from there from the merch store. So Carol, I'll message you back. Thank you for that. I'll message you, and I'll just remind you to head over to the merch store, find whatever item you want there, and that's my way of saying thank you for your contribution. Thank you very, very much for doing that, and thank you, Swishy Raiders. So Carol, if you're out there, thank you for your support, Carol. I'm glad it was you, because you often donate to the cause. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. Okay, so water first. There is so much to kind of unpack. Thank you, Swish Raiders. I appreciate you guys. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders. They rate us every day. Love those guys. The Democrat is the enemy inside the United States. Wow, mastery yeet man. That is such an intelligent post with all the little sirens. Do you need attention? Don't worry. The chat will show you plenty of attention. So enjoy the company. Appreciate you. Kiss, kiss, love, love. All right. I'm not even sure where to start with the UN speech. So what I think we should do is, instead of going down that road first, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. As you know, he returned to the airwaves last night, and I'll play some sound for you. Stations decided to carry his show once again, as for whatever reason, we'll talk about that. But there was with two conspicuous absences: Nexstar stations and Sinclair stations. Okay. So as we've discussed before, Sinclair is a massive conservative family who's donated money to the Republican Party for years. Big Trump supporters. Okay. So that's one group of stations that did not carry a show last night. And then the other one is Nexstar. And I've talked about this a lot this week. Nexstar wants to merge with a company called Tenga to create a $6.2 billion merger. They need the FCC approval for that. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the Nexstar stations and the Sinclair stations decided not to air the show once again. So maybe that's a coincidence. I say no. I say absolutely fucking not. All right. So that triggered the president. Well, what doesn't? Excuse me. This is what he posted. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Do people understand the severity of that statement alone? The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. First of all, it was never canceled. It was always preempted. But how interesting that you make that statement. But nothing to see here, right? Free speech warriors. Mag, I'm talking to you. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democratic garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Sounds like a threat. Let's see how we do. Don't forget, Brandon Carr said we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. Okay. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. Okay. Okay. That's fine, sir. Let's just listen to Kimmel. There was a compilation of some of the things that he talked about last night. So let's just play some of them.
This I don't think what I have to say is gonna make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do wanna make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way.
Okay.
Bigly.
So this is the, I'm gonna play the compilation. I just wanted to play that first because it just shows you that he's human, right? I mean, he's human. He's like, listen, first of all, the right ran with something. First of all, what he said was just ridiculous. I mean, that for them to be all pissed off about it. But this is sort of the compilation.
He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
That's true. Okay. He's creating his own distractions. Okay, here we go.
And I am a tiny part of the Disney Corporation. They welcomed me back on the air, and I thank them for that. That unfortunately, and I think unjustly, this puts them at risk. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs.
Correct.
Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods.
Correct.
Because he can't take a joke.
Absolutely.
And I am a tiny part. A lot of people have been asking me if there are conditions for my return to the air, and there is one. Disney has asked me to read the following statement, and I agreed to do it. Here we go. To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account, open the Disney Plus app on your smart TV or TV connected device.
I said this yesterday. Don't reactivate it. You know, if you made the decision to get rid of it, don't do it. You made that call. A lot of people said they did. Just keep your subs keep your subscription canceled.
I've been fortunate to work at a company that has a lot of people who's gunning for our journalists too. He's suing them, he's bullying them. Over the weekend, his foxy friend Pete Hegseth announced a new policy that requires journalists with Pentagon press credentials to sign a pledge promising not to report information that hasn't been explicitly authorized for release. That includes
That's absolutely true. I don't know if you heard that story as this stuff gets buried. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The Pentagon now policy regarding the press is you cannot report on anything unless the Pentagon and ultimately the administration approves it. Yeah, it's true.
Unclassified information. They want to pick and choose what the news is. I know that's not as interesting as muzzling a comedian, but it's so important to have a free press, and it is nuts that we aren't paying more attention to it.
Yes.
Walter Cronkite must be spinning in his grave right now. He's dead, right? Yeah. Look, I never imagined he's gunning. 10 years ago, this sounded crazy. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. In addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment,
correct,
is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public.
Correct.
Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing car Republicans have embraced since this.
The Trump Tesla.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
That's the point. That was great. You know, Jimmy Kimmel, take him or leave him. I'm lukewarm on Jimmy. Sometimes I think he's really funny. Sometimes I don't. But the whole point is we live in a country where we're supposed to be protecting the rights of spaces like that and journalists and oppositional voices. That is the entire premise. Like, our country is built on a couple of true basic fundamentals, right? The ability to push back against the government, to be able to practice what religion you want, to say what you want, to have the press report on what it's want, and to have the peaceful transfer of power. Those two things are models to other democracies around the world. And think about the one person who's violated both of those tenets, refused to accept defeat when he lost in 2020, was not participating in the peaceful transfer of power, on the contrary, and does not support the freedom of the press, does not support free speech, does not support the freedom to practice what religion you want, does not support peaceful assembly, and certainly does not support petitioning the government for grievances. And that's just the First Amendment. Then there's the 4th, the 5th, the 14th, the 12th, or the 22nd potentially. So I'm so glad that ABC made the decision. We'll see how that plays because they still have a merger deal pending. We'll be watching that. We got you. Nexstar Media, one of the largest owners of broadcast TV stations, said it would not air the return of Jimmy Kimmel Live on Tuesday. The company joins Sinclair, which said Monday it didn't plan to air the late night show and instead would show other programming. Nexstar owns roughly 30 stations affiliated with ABC markets, including Salt Lake City, Nashville, and New Orleans. And then Sinclair owns and operates nearly 40 ABC affiliate stations. So that'd be 70 roughly broadcast stations, around 20% or so of the stations nationwide that carry the late show, Jimmy Kimmel, or Jimmy Kimmel Live. Disney saw their stock and their subscriptions just being canceled. I got a notification. I haven't subscribed to that in years. Got a notification of a price going up. I think many of you probably got that too. So I would chalk this up to a victory. As you know, as these are the kinds of things that have to happen. Again, there's always a reason why someone did something, but I think it's a good sign. Okay, so then let's just briefly talk about the statement that he was just talking about what happened with the Pentagon. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. There's a gifting goal here. Don't forget about joining our team. And as always, if you want to contribute to the cause, we are crowdfunded here. I appreciate you all very, very much. And a reminder, Carol, if you are here, and I know you're here, you watch regularly, in case you didn't hear the announcement earlier, we did a little drawing. You donated yesterday. Somebody gave you the number. You happen to be number one on the list. They chose number one. I read your name. Please go to the merch store, find whatever item you want. Let me know what it is, and I would like to gift that to you for your support of the show. Thank you very, very much. So let's talk about government corruption, shall we? This is just in the last week. Okay, this is just in the last week and a half of the things we have learned about this administration. Okay. Trump ordered the Department of Justice head to prosecute political opponents. Trump posted what he intended to be a private message to Pam Bondi on Truth Social, demanding that she prosecute his political opponents. It's a clear violation of the Justice Department's ethics. It's not meant to be weaponized to target a president's personal enemies. What about Comey? This is his statement. Pam, remember this whole thing with the direct messages? Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, quote, same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing's being done. What about Comey? Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia, they're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit. and that we had no case. No, I fired him. No, he resigned. And there was a great case, and many layers and legal pundits say so. Lindsay is really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. That was a direct message, whatever you want to call it. He literally came back over the top like hours later trying to prop up Pam Bondi because she needs propping. That would be one example of just blatant corruption. The weaponization of government. Lawfare. Border czar allegedly took a bag of cash. Bag of glace. Border czar Tom Homan was allegedly recorded accepting $50K in September of last year as part of an FBI undercover operation. After a tip alleged Homan was soliciting payments for contracts. The agents posed as business people, and Homan took the money while promising to give them government contracts. If Trump won re-election, the case was mysteriously closed after Trump took office, but Democratic leaders are calling for the tapes of the alleged crime to be released. So the reporting is that he was caught on tape accepting the cash. Caroline was asked this question. This is her answer.
Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Homan investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000.
Oh, Caroline. Okay.
Dollars that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong.
How do you know?
And even the president's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong. And he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border.
Okay. Okay, Caroline. Oh, I just got a little flag. Actually, somebody mentioned this to me that I should do this. I'm going to do this real quick. Hang tight.
TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. We now return you to our regularly scheduled pandemonium, already in progress.
Sorry about that. So think of it this way, right? Think of it this way. There is reporting that there's a tape. There's reporting that there's a tape. There was really no denial from Mr. Homan. He was questioned. I have some sound of that someplace. No denial from him. Caroline now saying that the Kash Patel FBI, because they're super credible, have been the ones that have sort of said there's nothing to see here, and then of course want to say, what about Biden? Pointing to Biden DOJ. Okay, if that's what you want us to believe, then that's totally fine. Nothing to see here. Okay. So what else? Pentagon control what journalists publish. Again, these are all things that have just happened in the last week and a half. Starting with the Trump ordering his own DOJ to investigate his political enemies, which, by the way, comes right from Project 2025, but nothing to see here. The borders are apparently on tape. Tom Homan accepting $50,000 like a bag of cash. We've all seen too many movies. Here you go. Don't tell anybody. Small bills. Okay. And then the Justice Department under Kash Patel's leadership and Pam Bondi's leadership saying, I have nothing to see here. And then they ended the investigation. And Caroline's answer, let me play that again, because her answer is interesting.
Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Holman investigation, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Holman have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Holman never took the $50,000 that you're...
Okay, Caroline, so the problem is, though, here's the problem, Caroline. Now, I know you're speaking to your base who doesn't give a fuck. But the rest of us are like, okay, well, here's another investigation. There's evidence, but you're saying that there isn't. So you're going to allow us to form our own narrative. And what I'm going to say is you're all fucking corrupt. I'm sure he took $50,000. There's no doubt in my mind.
Referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters.
Anyway, you get the point. layers on top of layers of corruption everywhere. Pentagon to control what journalists publish. Pentagon said reporters can only access the building if they agree to publish only authorized material, also known as government propaganda. The department is not just restricting the sharing of classified information, which they are very good at. It's restricting anything the government doesn't want the public to know about. Journalists who violate the rules risk losing their press credentials. Where have I heard that before? So think of it this way, right? If your job as a journalist, there are people that are assigned to the White House, there are people that are assigned to the State Department, there are people that are assigned to the Supreme Court, people that are assigned to the Pentagon. You basically have to take a pledge to say you're only going to report on the things that we tell you can report on. What? That's only what he was caught with, allegedly with. Yeah, I understand, Jay Nice. Yeah, I got you. So think of it this way, right? The expectation that this administration has set is that the only information you can trust is the information that we control. Now, MAGA, not the most educated group, one could say, will accept that as the truth. And they will wrap themselves in the blanket of misinformation, propaganda, and rhetoric that's come their way over the past 10 years or so, that everything that is in opposition to the president is fake news. Data and science is all conspiracy. Lawfare, judges are corrupt, juries are corrupt, courts are corrupt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you are so transparent, and I remember early on, and by the way, I have been watching, not in a stalker kind of way, but I've been watching Caroline Levitt this entire time, and she's aged in just 8 months. She started her career as a press secretary as just this fresh face, prepared to lie every day, and now you can tell the cross has been burning quite a bit. And she's in a really tough spot now because she has to go up there and just lie every day to the American public, literally every single day. She's prepping for a career after she'll get hired by Fox or Newsmax or News Nation or somebody, right? It's stressful to lie. It takes its toll on the body, right? You might as well just smoke a pack of cigarettes and have pork rinds all day. Or, it's going to just do as much damage as lying. Oh, pork rinds. Anyway, sorry, I digress. The Pentagon telling to journalistic organizations that you're going to lose your credentials unless you only report on what I say or what we tell you can report on. Okay. FBI head says no evidence Epstein trafficked anyone to anyone but himself. Under oath, Kash Patel actually told Congress there's no credible information that Epstein trafficked to others, only to himself. Tell that to the long list of survivors of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell who was serving prison time for trafficking women and girls. Easy way to disprove this is to release the fucking files. Trump threatens war against American cities. Trump said his administration is studying ways to send the military to Democratic-run cities like Chicago, Memphis, and New Orleans to police Americans, saying it's like war. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the use of the federal military for domestic law enforcement, but he doesn't seem to care. And on top of all that, on top of all the corruption, the economy's in the shitter. Inflation's up. He tried to make that claim during the UN speech. We'll play that. Inflation's up. Gas prices are up. Unemployment's up. Losing jobs. Farmers are going bankrupt again. The entire, global trade allegiances and alliances are shifting because our own allies are pissed off at us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll just pile on the corruption. We'll just pile on all these things. Remember, they are distractions, but do not be distracted by them, right? They're intending to try to drive you away from the things that are the most important. Release the fucking Epstein files. 435 members of Congress, and I believe that special election, was it last night? Did I miss that? Did that happen last night? Okay, so yes, that's big news. All right, so Democrat Adelita Grijalva wins a special election for her late father's House seat in Arizona, which means that's 219 signatures. When she is sworn in, that would be 219 signatures because we were one signature short. So that's the 219 signature. So what has to happen now, just as a reminder, the way that the discharge petition will work is that 218 is the majority. So I'll tell you guys what's going to happen. So this is how this works. The discharge petition has the majority. It then is submitted. So what the discharge petition means is that the House Speaker is the one that sets the agenda in the House. The discharge petition gives the people who've acquired enough signatures the ability to forego the Speaker's rules and force a floor vote. The Speaker has 7 days. Has 7 days to bring that to the floor. It will happen. It will happen. They're going to try to attempt to change rules. I don't know if they can. I don't trust them. But that would be the 218 signature. Sorry, that'd be the 218 signature. Because that would be 214 Democrats and then the 4 Republicans. That'd be 218. So there's a lot to kind of be looking forward to. Now the question then becomes, does it then go to the Senate after it passes the House? The discharge petition is I'm not sure how that works because it's a good question. And I can't really seem to find any information on it. I don't know if it's filibuster proof. I don't think it is. This just may be a simple majority. I'm going to try to find that out. I couldn't really find any information. As soon as I can, I will figure that out for you guys. But remember, there's 4 Republicans, Nancy Mace, MTG, Lauren Boebert, and Thomas Massie. So let's see if they hold up. But there's also 2 more special elections that are due to happen. One is, I think, next week, and then one is a little bit later in October. And ultimately, the House is going to land where it lands. But with 4 Republicans already signing on, that's 218 signatures. That's all that's necessary. So we'll see. So we'll research that as whether or not something like this is going to be. Although I don't know if it's required to sign. It'll be interesting to see if the president doesn't sign this into law. We'll see what happens. We'll keep on that. But I'm glad that date popped into my head. And some people that are requesting here. Red states do have higher crime rates, right? Kate, how are you today?
Hi, you can call me Jenny. It's just a business name. So I just want to call in regarding the UN speech last night. I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, this is it, this is good. People will see how silly he is, how ridiculous he is. I don't think he was addressing the UN, but he wasn't speaking to the UN. He was speaking to globally.
His base.
His followers, his racist, prejudiced, misogynistic followers. It was a rallying cry. So where it doesn't resonate with us, we mustn't write it off as silliness, as that's not going to work, because he wasn't speaking to those leaders. He was addressing them, but he was igniting and inciting a fire and a permission in these people to, around the world, wherever this MAGA mindset has set in and given permission for all of these prejudices, around the world, cause civil disputes that could lead to civil WARS. I'm not sure what I can say on here, but I could hear it. It was logos. People think the windmill thing was a ramble. That was no ramble. That was directed at the king. The king owns a lot of the seabed. Very interested in the environment. I'm not a supporter of the king, by the way, but to make note of, it wasn't a ramble. It wasn't a silly ramble. It was a dig at the king. He's very invested in his windmills around the UK. And other places. So all of these surreptitious sillinesses that we are writing off too easily, I feel, some people are anyway, aren't sillinesses. They were dog whistles. They were veiled threats. They were dog whistles. They were put downs. Sounds like rambling, but actually it was very directed.
We're gonna cover it. Thank you for jumping in today. I really appreciate your perspective on that. Thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Bye.
You got it. Okay. We're gonna break all that down. I don't disagree. I mean, obviously there are lots of dog whistles in there. We know about the rise of far right organizations, Tommy Robinson, and in the UK and other groups around the world, and he's speaking to them. Right. This is an attempt to reshape democracies and to be more authoritarian. The West is losing. The world is tired of the West, apparently. So we'll see. He's not 5 VHS. He's not smart enough to play tic-tac-toe with himself. Anyway, the levels of corruption connected to this administration, and they just continue to lie for one another, over the top. Like literally over the top. So I did some fact checking on his speech. There's a lot of fact checkers out there that were working overtime last night. But I think what I'll do is there's some parts that I really want to play. So let me just get into that. And they're going to be broken up a little bit just because it was hard to kind of compile them in order because they're all over the place. But I'll just play you some of the highlights, lowlights. I don't know. Let me get rid of this for a second. Hang on. But before I do that, I want to address something. I'm a little bit disappointed in Kamala Harris because she went on an interview with Rachel Maddow, and they were talking about Zohran Mamdani. I'm just going to play this sound, and then we're going to get back into, because this is how adults who are active in politics, when we can objectively criticize political leaders. So I'm going to objectively criticize her for what she said, or actually, more importantly, didn't say in this interview with Rachel Maddow.
The fastest rising star right now in Democratic politics is Zohran Mamdani, who is going to be elected mayor of New York City, and probably in a landslide if the polls are anything to go by. Lots of mainline Democrats have been very shy about his candidacy. They seem somewhat flummoxed by his success. As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
That's lukewarm at best.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race. Sure. But let me just say,
I support the Democrat in the race. Sure.
This. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars. So I hope that we don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country who are right now running for mayor and many other offices.
It's a fair point that there are a lot of other stars, rising stars, and the fact that they may not be getting the coverage that they deserve. But Zohran Mamdani is going to win with like 75 to 80% of the vote in New York. Popular policies. And what an opportunity it would be for Kamala Harris to say, listen, people on the left really want more progressive politics. People on the left really want a different vision for the future. And let's look at something that Zohran Mamdani is talking about rent control, about free public transportation, things like that. Those are all things that the overwhelming majority of people would want. I just think it was lukewarm. And I understand, I get it. I get it, but I was a little bit disappointed by that answer. And she's right. There are other rising star Democrats across the country that should get as much attention. They won't because it's not New York City, but should. And I just like, yes, I agree, Mommy, that there are rising stars, and a lot of women who are rising stars in the Democratic Party who are not going to get covered. I get that, and that's why I'm calling it out. But I think there's an opportunity there. It's an acknowledgement that the left needs to listen to the left, the further left more, to progressives more, the people who are really advocating for societal change. And that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about. Keep in mind, he's going to win in a landslide. He's going to be the next mayor of New York City. He's got an uphill fight to pass what he wants to pass into New York because he's got to go through the New York State legislature. So I was a little bit disappointed, I must say, but it is what it is. If anybody in the guest box? No. Okay. By the way, friends, there is I'll wait for Sam to come up. We'll talk about it in just a minute. Okay, let's get back to the UN speech. It's hard to how do I want to say this? It's hard to measure the impact something like this has because it's the United Nations. And I was doing a little bit of research because Trump has said some horrible things about NATO and the UN going back to the 80s, right? Like I said, privilege is showing. What privilege? Yeah, just like here. So he's never been a fan of the United Nations. He's never been a fan of NATO. He's never been a fan of anything other than he's never even been a fan of our allies. So like I said, I'm going to jump around a little bit just because the sound jumped around a little bit. Tried to pull as many clips as close to the sequence of events as possible. Let's start with this one. Hold on a second. Let's start with this one because this is the beginning.
Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. Hello, Madam First Lady. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Caroline was not too happy because it's her job. She is the press secretary. Don't forget. There's also reporting about about an escalator not working or like literally stopped as they were just about to walk on. So Caroline was angry. This is angry Caroline.
It does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me. And that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the First Lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good. Caroline.
Okay, I'm glad you're going to look into it because here's the situation. Trump complained that the UN escalator stalled and the teleprompter froze, blaming the UN for those technical failures. The UN denied any responsibility, stating that the teleprompter was managed by the White House, not by the UN. That was reported by the AP. And additionally, reports claim that the escalator stopped because a U.S. delegation videographer triggered a safety mechanism. Again, the UN said, no, actually, the teleprompter was managed by the White House, not by us. Funny. I wonder if they're going to investigate that. I wonder if they're going to investigate that. Real quick, friends, in the link that's in the link tree that's in my bio, some friends of our community had decided that they want to support me moving over to YouTube. So they set up a GoFundMe. It's the first link in the link tree in the bio. You guys know how I feel about this kind of stuff, but I'm humbled by it. But there's a target. You can read about it. There's enough people in here right now that if everybody gave $1 to that, we'd take care of it. You can read about what it is. You can read about what's necessary. And as always, like I've done numerous times, I will show every single receipt. So I just wanted to let you know it's over there. If you're interested, thank you. Okay, let's go back to some of the things that he said. That to me is just like, by the way, don't forget, he is the one who, sorry, I didn't know what to do, Sam. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. He is the one that for years had railed against the presidents for using teleprompters. I think his press team and comms team would prefer that he stay on script, but he has a tendency to riff. So let's just play some of the highlights, shall we?
Good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything.
Oh, God.
And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but
yes,
it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam,
that's what it is.
Your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail.
What?
I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe.
You do?
And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe. Before it's too late. I'm really good at this.
Okay. That was pretty wild. Don't worry. There's more. We're going to fact check all this. Don't worry. I'm just going to wait to the end.
I've been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But, you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days. But it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish.
What?
It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad.
What?
No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years.
Zelensky's in the crowd.
Killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week, from 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States, and look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy.
But we're buying uranium.
They're funding the war against themselves.
Let's visit the 7 wars claim, please, because that continues. He has claimed that he has ended. Trump has repeatedly claimed, this is from factcheck.org. He's repeatedly claimed since returning to the White House that he has ended 7 wars, or 7 unendable wars, in his words, in 7 months. These are the wars that he asserts that he's ended or helped de-escalate: Israel, Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Albania and Azerbaijan, actually it's Armenia and Azerbaijan, Thailand and Cambodia, or Cambodia and Thailand, India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia and Serbia and Kosovo. In making these claims, Trump sometimes describes them as victories achieved by diplomacy, economic pressures, tariffs, or negotiations, rather than military campaigns. Here's the breakdown. Israel, Iran. Trump claims credit for a ceasefire or ending a, quote, 12-day war between Israel and Iran. There was indeed a short flare-up of hostilities in mid-2025, airstrikes, exchanges, followed by a truce and a ceasefire. Experts say Trump played a role, among others, in pressing for restraint, especially via diplomacy and pressure, but ending the war overstates it because the underlying tensions and the possibility of renewed confrontation remain. That's from Fact Check. Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo and or DRC. Trump is crediting himself with brokering or influencing a peace agreement or de-escalation. A deal was announced after talks in Washington with Trump and Qatar as mediators. However, violence has persisted and rebel groups have accused both sides of violating terms. Critics call the claim premature and note that many armed groups remain outside the agreement. Again, his claims is that he ended these wars. Okay, Armenia and Azerbaijan. Trump claims he helped end the conflict between these two nations. There has been some diplomatic movement. A framework or initial agreement was signed in Washington under U.S. facilitation, but the peace process is ongoing and many underlying issues remain, such as border demarcation and security guarantees. They are still unresolved. Thailand and Cambodia. Trump claims a ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia with U.S. tariffs or trade pressure helping bring the parties to the table. Indeed, there was a border skirmish in 2025 that led to a ceasefire. Thailand accused Cambodia of laying landmines. Cambodia denied it. Analysts agree U.S. trade incentives or threats likely influence the talks, but the conflict is more of a regional border dispute than a full-fledged war, and the situation remains very fragile. India and Pakistan. Trump claims a truce or de-escalation in the long-standing tensions between, for example, in Kashmir, with U.S. mediation. India has publicly downplayed U.S. involvement, insisting it India has publicly downplayed U.S. involvement, insisting it handled matters itself. Some analysts say U.S. diplomacy had peripheral influence, but there is no clarity that Trump ended anything in that case. Egypt and Ethiopia. Trump includes this as one of the 7, presumably referring to the long-standing dispute over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, and the Nile waters. However, this is not a war in the traditional sense. It's a diplomatic and resource dispute, and the issues remain unresolved. Tensions continue about water rights, dam operation, and related regional security, and then Serbia and Kosovo. Trump claims a role in stabilizing or reducing conflict between Serbia and Kosovo. Again, this is all through fact check. There is little evidence of a new war in 2025, and analysts say tensions remain. The claim over ending war here is especially weak as the region has had intermittent tensions since over many years, not a sudden outbreak in this period. Some of the wars Trump cites are arguably mischaracterized. They may be border skirmishes, diplomatic disputes, or long-standing tensions rather than full-scale wars. In some cases, the fighting has not fully ended or could resume at any time. Most leaders or governments involved dispute or downplay the U.S. or Trump's role in resolving these conflicts. So, you know, like, you stand in front of the UN, you've been lying to the American people about it, and his voters won't care because they'll just say he ended 7 wars. And we went through the exercise here. I took the time to go through it. There's no claims. You can't back up any of them. And then he goes to the UN speaking to a lot of these countries, and they're like, the fuck is he talking about? There was a rebel insurgency just 2 days ago. What the fuck is he talking about? And he's still holding on that claim that if he was the president, then Russia would not have invaded Ukraine. We know that that's not true. And by the way, if Kamala Harris was president, Russia would not be sending drones into NATO countries because she would never have tolerated that. Because you're a feckless coward. You can't do anything other than bob the knob, drink some of Vlad's vodka, if you kept my drift. Okay, let's go back to some more things that he said during this speech, because it was wild.
No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. Very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle.
Ha! What a fucking baby.
If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
What?
These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential.
Man.
I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit.
Damn.
Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements.
No one says that but you.
But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars.
He is like literally sundowning. Somebody just said this in front of our eyes. It is so fucking embarrassing. I know a lot of people are like, I can't listen to it, but it's important because we cannot let these moments just go away, because this is the person who is the president of all of us. He is the president of the United States. And as we often say, right, it is the us versus them. He represents the billionaire class. He is working to benefit the billionaire class. He lied to the American people so that he could get elected to benefit himself, enrich his family, and enrich the billionaire class. And that's who represents us on the world stage.
You can have
That's who represents us on the world stage. Here's a little bit more.
Bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady...
Yeah, play that one for you. And I think there's one more.
Under my leadership, energy costs are down. Gasoline prices are down. Grocery prices are down. Mortgage rates are down. And inflation has been defeated.
Defeated?
The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging. Manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that. Almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8 months, much more than $17 trillion is being invested in the United States. And it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts.
Who do they benefit?
In American history.
Who do they benefit?
Making this once and again the best country on earth to do business.
Okay, I'm gonna fact check this whole fucking thing for you guys. I've been ordered to do something. Hold on a second. Or I was suggested that I do something, not ordered. Good morning. You're on mute.
I know, sorry. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, except for I'm gonna have to kick your shins for announcing something that I was supposed to announce. I have this whole speech written and everything, Steve. Come on.
Sorry, my bad.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do my spiel since I'm up here. Is that good?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
As y'all may have heard, there are 1.6 thousand of you in here, so you might have already heard. Our Factsstillmatter community is working on a really big move to YouTube. As you guys know, Steve spends way more than 4 hours a day on his investigative journalism and activism here. And we really want to make sure that all of that continues no matter what happens with TikTok, because, stuff's happening. Our friend Fish Trucker started a GoFundMe to help Steve get the equipment that he needs. So hearts in the chat for Fish Trucker. We love him. And we're looking to get all the equipment for the big move. Every dollar does help, and Steve will obviously share receipts so we know exactly where everything goes. He always does that. So to make it fun, I've actually made some donor rewards. So get ready for this. If you donate $5 or more, you get a personal shout out in Discord. If you donate $25 or more, you get like a live stream shout out. If you donate $50 or more, I'm going to make a special Discord role. I'm thinking this is like the Factivists or like the Factonauts, whatever we decided our community name was. And then if you donate $150 or more, you get to sponsor a live, which I think is really cool. On the back of his screen on our live, it'll say today's show brought to you by, and then your name, and he'll also announce it. A lot of these also Steve doesn't really know. I'm just like, this is the first time he's hearing them, so sorry, Steve.
It's okay. I love them.
If you donate $300 or more, you get a limited edition merch that we are still in the process of designing. And then you also get an exclusive Q&A session with Steve and the mods, which I think would be really cool.
Wow.
But appropriate, of course.
Or not. I'm kidding.
Or not.
Yes,
Facts after dark,
yes.
you know. And
Sure,
my personal favorite is if you donate $500 or more, you might get a lap dance from Steve. Maybe.
Holy shit.
Maybe.
Can we just what?
That's still
Damn.
You might. Well, there's like a small chance. So $500 or more. But also the top 3 to 5 donors, I haven't decided if I went 3, 4, or 5. Maybe y'all can help me choose a number. Will be put on a permanent supporter wall in Discord and on the YouTube About page. So like your name's going to be out there if you're one of the top 3 to 5 donors. And then that's what I have for the tiers right now, the rewards. The link is in my link tree, and I've also asked Steve to put it in his. I will also put it in Discord because I haven't put it anywhere publicly in Discord either. So I'll also put the tier rewards or the donor rewards in the Discord as well.
Thank you, Fish. Thank you, Sam.
Yes,
thank you, guys.
Thank you, Fish.
It means a lot. I appreciate that. He mentioned that to me, and I'm like, dude, I don't want you to do that. And he basically told me, shut the hell up and take your flowers. So I'm like,
yep.
Okay, I'll shut up and take my flowers. Thank you all very, very much. The link is in the link tree that's in my bio. It's also in Sam's bio. But you guys are great. I appreciate y'all very much.
Yes, thank y'all.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you. Now get the hell out of here.
Okay, bye. Whee!
Jesus. Would StreamYard be helpful? Also may need to get viewers on YouTube. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys very, very much. It's all the things that go, it's like hardware, it's stuff. I've been trying to get it done. It's just not been easy. And anyway, you guys know that I love talking about this kind of stuff, but thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you. It's really kind. All right, let me jump over here and go to Benny. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Friendly neighbor from.
How you doing? Got a lag, Benny.
Oh.
Got a lag.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, technical difficulties. Why don't you request again? I'll bring it right back up. Okay. All right. So let's get into the fact check. Well, there's one more. Let me read this one. Let me play this one for you. Jesus Christ. This guy. This is going after climate.
You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back.
Again, this is the President of the United States.
Years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
Just remember this. Just remember this, though.
Smart people don't like me.
Just keep that in mind.
I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. You know, it used to be...
Okay. I don't even know what else to say. This is the last little bit here. I think this is the last one I have for you, and then we'll get into the specifics of the fact check. This might even be the same clip. I'm not sure. I have so many of them. Here we go.
But, you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. But you know...
What? Can Congress please do their job? I mean, can Congress please do their job? Have you noticed that people really sometimes I'll swim in the toxic waters that are MAGA lives, and they don't even try to defend this anymore. They just laugh. They just laugh. It's amorphous, and it's a shape, it's a blob, and there's air, and it's clean, but it's not clean. It's dirty, but it's not dirty. We have the cleanest, dirtiest air ever. Everybody says that. Okay. It is, I mean, we joke about it, but it's dangerous that that's the person who's leading our country. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I want to play one more little bit of sound, just because I think it's as it relates to the violent extremism that's risen from his mouth. This was a great quote on Fox. Fox is like finally starting to admit maybe that there's some truth here behind some of the things that they say.
Administration bringing people together, you think, in the wake of the horrible assassination?
When I hear Donald Trump saying this weekend that President Biden with stage 4 cancer is a stupid, mean SOB, he said the word, by the way. How's it working? Not too well for him. If you start feeling sorry for him, remember he's a bad guy. Yes, I think he's sowing division.
All right. We're going to take a break, gentlemen.
There's a perfect example. And I see Benny here. I'm going to give you the keys to the car for a second, buddy, because I got to go deal with something. Sorry, I'll be right back. Welcome.
Friendly neighbor from up north. How's everybody doing today? I'll let you know that it is currently Wednesday, so we are officially halfway through the week. I hope everybody's been doing well, especially in the wake of some pretty crazy and wild news. I swear to God, every time I hear Trump speak, I think he's going to start going off like, and out of all the wars that I ended, there was one from a galaxy far, far away. That was the Star War. I ended that. Yes. During that time, there was a man named Obi-Wan Kenobi. It wasn't very smart. It wasn't very bright. He was part of the radical woke rebels, and he never understood the power of the Empire.
My apologies, guys. We have a whole bunch of road. Sorry, we have a whole bunch of road construction that's happening, and I have to ask if they're going to turn power off and shit like that. So the guys are in front of my house, so I just had to run out there and talk to them. But anyway, I digress. Thank you, Joe Biden, for infrastructure money that was approved, so this can happen in my community. I appreciate that very much. How are you, sir? You all right? You good?
I'm doing all right, Steve. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I didn't get to hear your awesomeness. Was there anything else that you'd like to add today, sir?
I was just saying, Trump's just going on and on about how, do you remember in a galaxy far, far away, there was the Star War, one of the wars I ended. Yeah, that was back during the time a man named Obi-Wan Kenobi, not very smart, not very bright. He went against the great Imperial Navy, trying to defeat the woke rebels.
Indeed. Thank you for jumping in today, my brother. I appreciate you for always being here. Thank you for your tidings. Give us your announcement. Give us your sign off, please.
All I was going to say is compare what Trump was saying to what Prime Minister Mark Carney was saying. I'm not trying to say my dad's better than your dad.
No, it's fair.
But he
is.
Yeah.
He is. Well, I'm about to play a Barack Obama speech, so we can make some comparisons.
Great. I just hope everybody's doing okay in the light of all this news. So, Steve, love you, buddy. And as I always say, elbows up and keep your stick on the ice.
Appreciate you, my friend. See you later. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's they're just about done with the road work in a small town. People knock on doors and shit like that. So my apologies. Okay. So we're going to get into the fact check. Let's do that now. Actually, you know what I'm first going to do? I'm going to cleanse the palate a little bit, because when you hear a leader speak, this was Barack Obama meeting with Parliament. Okay. So when I went to the UK, I know exactly where this spot was. I know exactly what he's speaking to in the House of Parliament. And this was a moment this is what leaders are supposed to sound like. Okay, so everybody cleanse the palate a little bit. Here's Barack.
I am told that the last 3 speakers here have been the Pope, Her Majesty the Queen, and Nelson Mandela, which is either a very high bar or the beginning of a very funny joke. I've come here today to reaffirm one of the oldest, one of the strongest alliances the world has ever known. It's long been said that the United States and the United Kingdom share a special relationship. And since we also share an especially active press corps, that relationship is often analyzed and overanalyzed for the slightest hint of stress or strain. Of course, all relationships have their ups and downs. Admittedly, ours got off on the wrong foot with a small scrape about tea and taxes. There may also have been some hurt feelings when the White House was set on fire during the War of 1812. But fortunately, it's been smooth sailing ever since. The reason for this close friendship doesn't just have to do with our shared history, our shared heritage, our ties of language and culture, or even the strong partnership between our governments. Our relationship is special because of the values, beliefs that have united our people through the ages. Centuries ago, when kings, emperors, and warlords reigned over much of the world, it was the English who first spelled out the rights and liberties of man in the Magna Carta.
Right. I mean, it has been often said that we got Donald Trump because of Barack Obama. You know, the reaction in rural America to a black man sitting behind the Resolute desk, you know, God forbid, the tan suit. A president has a certain role. A president should be revered. You know, the office of the office, not the individual, somewhat the individual, but the office of the individual should be revered, right? The office, the president of the United States, the title. And Barack Obama was the entire birther movement started because of Trump. The illegitimate claims of his citizenship. And it became this rallying cry for the formation of MAGA. And I can objectively say there's some things about Barack Obama that I did not like. I don't think he handled the Flint, Michigan very, very well. I think he gave in too much on the ACA. But that's politics. We're supposed to have those conversations. We're supposed to be able to criticize our elected officials and hold them accountable. That's what we want change for. That's how it's supposed to be. It's what you're supposed to do. And even post-presidency, Obama admits that there's some things that he should have done differently. That's what humanity is. That's what accountability is. That's what humility is. That's not what we have from the person now in the White House. Not even close. No, but not even close. Trump won't take accountability for anything. Everyone else is to blame. He lies through his teeth. He lies through his teeth. Alarmist, alarmist. Okay. I did. Yeah, but Barack Obama was not progressive enough for me. It doesn't mean that he wasn't a very good president. Didn't mean that his opinions and views changed. He was presided over a country where the ACA was passed. He presided over a country where same-sex marriage became the law of the land. And those things matter. And just the humanity, the decency, the adulthood that he showed, and the starkest comparisons, specifically since this speech was in front of Parliament, and Trump was just over at the Windsor Castle for that just ridiculous opulent dinner, and while people were starving, right? Remember this picture, this stark image of the people that we're actually fighting against. And don't forget, your president's there, and our president's there, and he made all these bullshit claims and all these lies. Not any homage to the relationship that we've had for a few hundred years with England. And Barack Obama's like, okay, well, there was a better way. There's a better time. And like I always talk to you guys about, the opportunity that we have is to say we need to demand better. I don't hate him. He's just an idiot, Efrain. Why do you like him so much? That's the question. I don't know why. He's just dumb. I really don't appreciate someone who's just that stupid. But you know what? You're probably just a troll. Well, maybe not. I just want to know, like, why aren't people embarrassed by what they just heard? Lies about this, lies about that, lies about the wars that he's ended. Question for you. Are you a Trump voter, Efrain?
Yeah, I voted for him.
Okay, but do you still support him?
I'm not a huge fan. So that's the problem. You think it's all or nothing. Like I believe, like I'm 100% behind him. The difference that I make besides.
But why though? But why? But why are you 100% behind him?
I said I'm not 100% behind him. I says I don't believe everything that he's done is great. I think that if he would just shut up a lot of times and not open his mouth, and he's petty in many ways. I'm absolutely saying.
But he's always been that way.
True, but that's not changed. Policy. If you look at Biden, so, you're acting like Biden was this great whatever, or that Barack Obama was.
Why did you pivot to Biden? We're talking about Trump, okay? So explain to me. Give me an example of something that you think that he's done that's positive for the majority of Americans.
He secured the southern border.
So how does that affect you? Where do you live?
I live in Ohio.
Okay, so how does the southern border affect you?
Well, see, this is an
issue question, because the question that I asked you was, tell me something he's done for middle class Americans, and then I asked you where you, and your answer was he secured the southern border, which we can talk about that. Hold on. Let me just get the question out. I'll give you a chance to answer. Hold on a second. And then you said the southern border. Then I asked you where you lived. You said Ohio. And then I asked you, how does that affect you? So can you please explain to me how immigration policy at the southern border impacts you?
It impacts me in larger ways. I believe that.
Which are?
Larger ways?
What are those larger ways?
It makes the country safer. It takes the burden off of social services.
Why do you think? Well, we'll talk about that. Why do you think it makes the country safer?
So you don't believe in sovereignty?
That's not the question I asked you. Why do you believe it makes our country safer?
Well, you either believe in sovereignty or you don't.
No, the question, you said it made the country safer. It's a different conversation. We can talk about sovereignty in a second. You said it made the country safer. How did it make the country safer?
I believe when you have millions of people coming through unvetted, that you don't know who they are or what their intentions are.
Who told you they were unvetted?
There were 25 million people that came across the border in the 4 years of the Biden administration.
That's not. You can provide your source for that, please. So you're talking about encounters. Now, there's a lot of confusion here. I want you to answer the question, though. You said specifically that it makes the country safer. How does it make the country safer? Because I've got data that says you're a lot safer in a community of immigrants than you are with conservative white men, in particular.
Wow.
It's true. That's what you don't believe the crime stats?
I take the crime stats with a grain of salt because they're self-reported. They're self-reported.
Right. Well,
what do you want?
No, they're not self-reported.
You're denying that some places don't report this. The FBI, because the crime stats all come from the FBI.
You're the one that made the claim. You're the one that made the claim. So this is the problem that we have, Efrain. Let's see if we can have an adult conversation. This is the problem that we have, right? Because every single time when we talk about the data, we've got unrefuted evidence that communities that consist of primarily immigrants are significantly safer than other communities. Do you know why that would be? Think about it logically for a second. Why do you think that would be? Why do you think immigrants commit crimes at a significantly lower rate? Why?
Why do I think that they do? Well, I think for the most part they're good people. I think for the most part they're good people. I don't believe that they're. I don't believe that. I don't believe there's a rush of criminals coming across the border. I think there's people coming across the border looking for a better life. I'm not set, and I think for the most part, when you're talking, especially when you're talking about South American, I think that's one of the great things about South American immigration is they share our values. They're Christian.
Okay, so then doesn't that defeat?
But they're Christian based.
But doesn't that defeat your argument, though? But doesn't that defeat your argument? Because you said safer. You said we were safer. Then you said 25 million, which is not even close to the actual number. You can try to find that source for that. You said safer, though. So my claim is this, that people who are here either undocumented or in the process of awaiting their asylum hearing, which is the overwhelming majority of people here are waiting for their court cases, they don't commit crimes, because if they commit crimes, what happens?
They get deported.
Right. So the argument then, I think your argument about... Right, exactly. They get due process. So your argument about us being safer, it doesn't really hold up, does it?
Except you do have to admit that there are also mixed in with that group. There are Mexican cartel members that are also coming across the border. There's also
you're making that claim. You're making that claim. Okay, you're making that claim. But the argument again, I want to try to hold you to what you said, because you said we are safer. And you, in your own words, I didn't even prompt you. In your own words, like, they're good people. They're not doing anything wrong. So for the purpose of this argument, let's assume that 2%, 5% are cartel members. Do you understand, though, still that even people who are identified as either undocumented or immigrants still commit crime at a significantly lower level, even if the bad apples are there? So how then are we safer?
Can you look at this? Here's my take to you. Yes, you're looking at this in the micro. Okay. Yeah,
I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at the data. How else would we? So if you and I disagree on something, you say that we're unsafe. I say that we're safer. I can go to the data. They track this stuff through the FBI, through DOJ, through the CBP, through DHS. They track this information. So are you saying you don't trust any of the information? Because if that were the case, because the data destroys your argument, Efrain. So how do we navigate through that? How do we come to a point where, because what you said was just not true. It's not 25 million. Our country's not safer. In fact, you're safer in a community of immigrants than you are otherwise. That's the data. That's what it tells us. Whether we look at it at the micro level or the macro level. How do I get you to see the data? As opposed, because I hear a narrative in your head. That's what I hear.
No, it comes down to principles a lot of time. You said something earlier. You brought up. You're like, well, how does it affect you? How does it affect you? a lot of the things that I believe, because I don't believe that we should be electing people specifically because they do something for me or they do something. It's about the well-being of the country. So yes, maybe something doesn't directly impact me, but
you said that though, because I asked you that, and you couldn't answer it. So again, if your argument was safety, so that would be something for the collective good, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then you said hold on. You said you voted for because you said it made it safer. I still haven't gotten you to answer how it's made us safer. In fact, I heard you agree that the majority of these people, which we know is true, these human beings are here contributing to our society. They're paying taxes. They're not committing crimes at the rate that natural native-born YT people are. They're starting small businesses. They're not a drain on the system. They contribute more to the system than they take out.
Now that's flat out.
So
that's untrue.
No, it is true. Again, this is the data, Afrain. This is what the data tells us. They pay taxes, billions of dollars annually.
And they send billions out of our economy back to Mexico or Honduras or whatever it is.
Isn't that their choice?
That is their choice.
They pay taxes. They pay taxes.
Well, you admit that's not good for the country.
They pay taxes. I completely disagree. I think it's great for the country.
Money out of the American economy and shipping it to a different country.
They pay taxes. They support local communities. They start businesses. They use services. They go to restaurants. They go to shopping malls. So are you denying that they don't spend? Are you denying that they spend money here?
I will say the greatest thing that's happened in America. Are
you denying that they spend money here?
They're absolutely spending money here. But
so therefore they are contributing to the economy. They are a net positive.
What has always made America what America is, immigrants from wherever they
acknowledge that. They are a net positive.
Okay, fine. They're a net positive. You're apparently from somewhere else. I don't know where your ancestors came from or whatever. Here's the biggest problem that I see when this comes to sovereignty and whatever else is that in the past, immigrants would come to America. I know my immigrants came here. They were Italian descent, German descent. They wanted their kids to be American. They wanted their kids to the pride and look. I think it's great to come here. If your only reason for coming to America is because for economic opportunities, I don't necessarily know that that's what you want. We have a group of citizens. Maybe it's not a large group, but there's a group of citizens here.
Why does a person have to have a particular reason?
Because you can't have people in your country that have an alliance or think of themselves more as Mexicans or more as Argentinians or more as Hondurans.
Why not?
Than they do as Americans.
Actually, you can. Do you want to know why you can? Because as a citizen of the United States, even a resident, you get categorized as Mexican American, Italian American, African American, Asian American. That's what's unique about our country. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. You come here, you're American.
First and foremost.
I don't understand.
That's
foremost. True. Well,
but I see and I hear a lot of people saying that they believe Mexico's greater, and they think that look, that's the problem.
Isn't that their choice though?
Then they can go back, because here's the problem: if you're not going to embrace America and be an American and put America first, then honestly, you're just using America. You're using our resources. You're using our economics.
You're you're contributing to the country. You agreed with me. You said that they're contributing.
You want members. You want members in a country. You don't want employees.
Afrain, they contribute. You agreed with me. They contribute. They are a net positive to our country. We would see. Where do you think our cultural diversity comes from? Do you think it comes from straight white Christian men? Where do you think our music comes from? Where do you think our art comes from? Where do you think our culture comes from?
Do you identify first as a German or as an American? Do you identify
that's not the question
first
I asked you.
Well, but that's not the question I asked. That's the point I'm making right now.
My friend, you're starting to crash. Don't crash. Hang in there. Okay, hang in there. Where does our culture come from?
It comes from all the different people that immigrated here.
Correct. Is there something wrong with that?
No, but they're generally background things families do together. There's traditions between families, traditions between what, yes, we celebrate different. Yeah.
Really? So
a lot of my Italian traditions are.
Okay, because I'm half Italian too.
Okay, do you consider, if somebody asked you, you're American first, are you not? Or are you saying, no, I'm Italian?
I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way. I'm not a nationalist. I'm a person who lives here. Okay. I've got Italian heritage. I've got English heritage. I've got Dutch heritage. I'm a person who lives here. I'm not a nationalist. I'm a human being.
So you're a globalist.
Hold on. I'm a human being. No, I'm a human being who cares about his fellow human being. I care about you. I want your future to be prosperous. I want you to have advantages. And I know for a fact, because the data tells us so, that immigrants under our current model contribute so much more to our society than they take away. And you yourself even admitted it. So maybe you have a script in your head from a nationalistic perspective that you think our country, this is the question, do you think the United States is a Christian nation?
Yeah.
It's not, though.
That's an argument that liberals like to make, but the founding fathers were all very religious people. Yes, they separated.
They weren't Christians, though. They weren't Christian. Most of them were deists. They weren't Christian. So explain to me the Establishment Clause. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
What is it?
I don't know. I'll go ahead. I'm going to know once you say it, but go ahead.
Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of a religion. It's the first line in the First Amendment to the Constitution.
True. So I would say the Constitution's vetted in Judeo-Christian values, though.
Well, it can't be if the first line. It can't be if the first line of the Constitution is Congress shall make no laws respecting the establishment of religion, which means you're not forced to pray and or not pray. You can do whatever the hell you want. So then if the Constitution is very, very clear, the Constitution is very, very clear about the Establishment Clause, meaning that we're not a Christian nation, we're not a Jewish nation, we're not a Muslim nation, we're not a Buddhist nation. We are a nation of differences and diversity. That's what the Constitution says. So now you might have Christian values. That's your right. But it doesn't mean someone who isn't as much of an American, if not more than you are.
I think everybody has the right to be religious if they want or not. But to say
correct,
that,
therefore we're not a Christian nation.
I mean, you're really splicing this down. I understand what you're saying.
But am I splicing it down, or am I just talking about what our nation was founded on? Freedom of and freedom from religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peacefully assemble, freedom to petition grievances. So if you agree with 4 of those, then you have to accept the fact that we are not a Christian nation. Now you might want it to be. You might say, I want this to be a Judeo-Christian nation, and I want everybody to follow, whatever commandments. I don't know, but that's your choice. That's your opinion. That's not what the country is.
I think there's 250 years of existence in the country that would say that you're wrong.
No, the 250 years of existence would say that I'm right. Because we're governed under a constitution that makes it very clear that this is a nation that does not prescribe to any particular belief.
I mean,
that's the beauty of it. What is there to disagree on, though? A-Frame, what's there to disagree about? I literally just read to you the Constitution. Why would there be a government established under one religion if in the Constitution itself it's like, knock yourself out, whatever you want to pray to or not pray to? Why would they do that? I mean, I know you have a belief. You want to believe that we are a Christian nation, and you're wrong again about the founding fathers. Most of them were deists. Okay, so let's be real. Let's talk about what the information is. Let's talk about what the actual facts are.
Ben Franklin was a deist. Stop. You're making it seem like they were all. Ben Franklin, yes.
Did I say all? Did I say all?
You're throwing Ben Franklin out there like he stands for all of them.
You said the founding fathers were Christians, and I said no. Many of them were deists. So let's be real. Okay, I'm not using your words.
Which ones? Many. Which ones? Name them.
I don't have the list in front of me, but. Okay, again, but you said they were all Christian. Okay, so that they weren't just by acknowledging that Ben. Okay, then which ones were?
Hamilton, Washington, Jefferson.
You can provide that source.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, let's look it up. Was Washington a Christian? I'll do your work for you. I don't normally do that, but I'll do it for you. George Washington was a Christian, specifically an Episcopalian, which is a branch of Christianity. Cool, that's great. Your claim was they were all Christians.
The vast majority of them were, except for Ben Franklin. You can't tell me one besides Ben Franklin that wasn't.
Frame, is that relevant based on what the Constitution says? Don't forget, what was one of the reasons that the colonists...
What's the Constitution based on? The Magna Carta, correct?
A-Frame, take a deep breath. You're crashing out, bro. Hang in there. It's okay. Hang in there. What was one of the main reasons why the Pilgrims left, the Puritans left? Why did they decide? Why did they want to discover
persecution?
Exactly. So then, if it's religious persecution, then why then would you build a new nation under the premise of religious persecution by saying we are going to be a Christian nation and that's it? You can't ignore what the Constitution says, Ephraim. You can't ignore it.
If you think back to those times, there was persecution within the Christian faith. You had the Puritans, you had Catholics, you had Protestants. Are you going to forget that they had wars in England over Protestants and Catholics? I mean, you know, there was as much division among the Christians as there was anything else. So
Thomas Jefferson was a theist, by the way, just FYI. So again, you're trying. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to defend a belief set that you've had for a very long time. And what I'm asking you is whether they were all Christians or not. The Establishment Clause in our Constitution is very clear. We are not going to be a Christian nation, a theist nation, a deist nation, a Muslim nation. We are going to be a nation of religious independence, diversity, freedom to believe or not believe whatever you want. You can't deny that.
No, I think we're missing each other on this. If you're asking me if I think that the government of this country is a Christian government, I would say no. No, we are not.
That's not the claim. That's not the claim. You said America was founded as a Christian nation, and I'm saying absolutely not. It was not. It was not.
I think the government. I mean, listen. I think every government should be secular. I don't think government should. I absolutely 100% believe every government. The only way to serve people is to be secular. So if you're asking us if we're like Iran, no, we're not. We're not like Iran. We're not,
Hey, Fran, I'm sorry, but we're going to go back to your point. You said the United States was founded as a Christian nation.
It was founded on Christian principles. Maybe I misspoke.
That's not what you said.
It's founded on Christian principles.
That's your own opinion, though. That's your own opinion. That's your own opinion. It wasn't founded on Christian principles. It wasn't founded on any religious principles at all.
What was the Constitution based on? The Magna Carta. What's the Magna Carta?
Doesn't matter what the Magna Carta is. The law of our nation. I know what the Magna Carta is. I certainly do. I certainly know. What about the treaty? Somebody just said this. What about the Treaty of Tripoli? Have you read that? Probably not, right?
No, so again, I've read the Treaty of Tripoli.
Okay, then maybe you should, because I think your Magna Carta argument is going to fail miserably when you do. But anyway, here's the thing. These are the facts in the situation. Okay, the facts are our Constitution has the Establishment Clause, which basically says the foundational elements, the first thing that you read in the Constitution, a nation will not be, no establishment of any religion. That tells you right there that we were not established as a Christian nation, a theist nation, a Jewish nation, a Muslim nation, a Hindu nation, etc. A nation of diversity, a nation of independent thought, a nation of free speech. I know that you just are unwilling to relent on that topic, and that's frustrating. You can have your beliefs, knock yourself out. I'm an atheist. I grew up in the Catholic Church, but I think organized religion has been the disdain to humankind throughout history. That's my own opinion. We don't have to share it.
I actually agree with you on that.
Okay, but so then why would you want to go
as a Catholic?
Well, why would you want to go 10 toes down on saying that the United States, because those are your words. The United States was founded as a Christian nation.
again, okay.
It's not.
The basis of the basis of our laws and if you don't, do you believe that we were founded based on Christian values?
I do not.
You don't.
I do not. Because do you think values are subjective?
No.
You don't.
I think
so. Okay. So are you okay? So let me ask you a question. Do you support a woman's right to her body?
Yes, I personally do, but I don't put it that way. I don't like that wording. I would never use those words.
Well, of course you wouldn't. So then do you support a woman's right to have an abortion if she chooses?
Yes.
You do. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. But good. Then that's correct. So then some people disagree with that.
See,
so therefore they would.
Close-minded monster. I think for myself.
Okay. I didn't say you were. I didn't make that accusation. But let's be real. There are people in our country who believe that their values tell them that women should not have a right to their body. My values tell me that they absolutely should. So therefore, values by definition are subjective, right?
But to argue on their side, you're putting it in the negative. Where I would say, look,
not negative. It's just opinion.
Here's the difference. I can see both sides of the argument. I can see where a Christian would come through and say they believe that that's a life and that you're killing a child.
It's not.
I can see both sides. Well, okay, I'm just saying I can see both sides of the argument. I don't think that there's them saying. I don't think that you're making it seem like the people that are against a woman's right to choose are just doing against women and they're doing it against the woman. Instead, they're doing it as an advocate for what they feel is life. That's my point, is that you're painting one in this dark hating women section and the other one in, as just this silly thought. It's not my job to tell somebody that their beliefs are silly.
Here's the problem, though, right? Here's the problem with that, because those same people that are very loud and very in support of laws being passed so that women don't have rights to their body are the same people who, when an opportunity comes up to vote for policies that would help feed kids in school, vote against it, or to help protect marginalized communities, or to expand healthcare. So you can't pick and, like you just accused me, you can't pick and choose either. If you are pro-life, then you are pro-life. And you'll do everything you can, 10 toes down, to defend children in schools, the willingness to address gun violence in our country. They don't do that. They don't do any of that. So that's the hypocrisy that I can't stand. I speak to people all the time about these topics. And that's why the argument I will make again is values and morals are subjective, because you and I could disagree on something. You might consider it moral. I might consider it amoral. You might consider something that I agree with to be immoral, and you might consider it moral. Therefore, they're subjective. You can't pick and choose when it comes to humen rights. You can't.
But what I think
you either support them or you don't.
And I'm glad we're talking, because this is really interesting to me. So here's where I come out on a lot of this stuff, is that you and I probably agree on what the issues are. I think 90%. So. I think so. I think gun violence is an issue.
Okay. So how do we? So what's your solution then?
See, I think we differ on the solution. That's my whole point.
Then we don't agree. Do you even know? So why don't you ask me? What do you think my solutions are? Do you have any idea? What did you assume when I brought up firearms? What did you assume my solution would be?
I assumed your solution would. Well, again, this is extreme, and you're probably right, and you're calling me out on it, and I appreciate that. Immediately, my mind would go to is that you want a 100% ban on firearms, which is probably not what you're. So okay, see, that's I agree.
I grew up in New England. I've got firearms. I've got 3, as a matter of fact. I grew up hunting. I support a person's right to keep and bear. What I don't like, though, is the number one cause of death in our country being children. The number one cause of death, 2 kids between the ages of 1 and 18, are firearms. What I don't like is people who first of all, who've been lied to about what their Second Amendment rights are, and an unwillingness to do anything about it. Those same people are very often the ones that scream the loudest about denying women's rights to their body. That, to me, is hypocrisy, and they cover it with a blanket of Christianity.
See, I think we would agree. I know what you're saying.
Can you understand? Okay. So can you understand why somebody on the left says that? Because I can tell you right now, the conservative right and the Second Amendment supporters don't realize that a lot of liberals have firearms too. And I have never said that I think we should eradicate. I don't think these are the things that I want. Universal background check from Maine to Alaska, every state to be the exact same. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Red flag laws, every state should be the same. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that too.
Safe storage laws in every state, identical. Would you agree with that?
I have no problem with that.
Registration and insurance for firearms. Would you agree with that?
That one I'm not going to agree with.
Why not? We register cars, don't we? We insure cars.
We do, but cars aren't protected in the Constitution.
Well, neither is the right to keep and bear, technically, unless you're part of the militia.
Because I have a healthy distrust of, and I think rightfully earned over time, of the government. I don't particularly trust our government. I don't particularly feel they have great intentions.
Okay, but is that a reason not to address the number one cause of death for children in our country by the ages of 1 and 18? Because you have a fear?
I mean, I don't want to downplay this, but I do also want to say that you say the number one death there, and not that it's anything. Yes, but the majority of those are suicides.
It's still firearm violence, right?
Well, you don't believe that. Listen, if somebody's going to kill themselves.
The number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18 are firearms.
I understand.
Doesn't matter.
I think you're being intellectually dishonest when you're making that argument.
Why? Did I make a distinction? Did I make a distinction? I just said the number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18 are firearms. Self-unaliving, school mass unaliving events, accidents, still the number one. So I believe this. Hold on. I get it. We're not. There's no hairs to split. It is the number one cause. Society has a responsibility. I believe that society has a responsibility to protect its citizenry. Do you agree?
I do agree.
Okay, so then societally speaking, the number one cause of death for children in our country, the ages between 1 and 18, are firearms. And there's one particular political ideology in our country that are unwilling to address it through legislation.
Well, I think the loudest on either end of the spectrum is bad. I'm not saying either. I think the extremists. You want to know? Can I throw something out there that's a little off the wall for you?
Sure, but hang on 1 second. But the middle, first of all, what I just listed, and I also said I would raise the age of purchase unless you're in the military from 18 to 21. And I would and I would also go back to the assault weapons ban because that was effective. Those are the things. That's what I want. That's what I want.
And I don't really think that. Yeah, I agree. Let me tell you something.
Okay, I think you'll agree. The only thing that we could not agree on is registration and insurance. That's a weird one to me because I don't know if you know this, but there was reporting recently by ProPublica that the NRA were taking people's registration information and then sharing it with politicians so that they could target their advertising. So the NRA is the organization that you should not trust.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I wasn't aware of that, but it makes sense because, well, I don't. Whatever. Anyways, so here's my problem, and I think you're going to agree because because I think you and I could. So we just agreed on a whole bunch of stuff, right? Here's why nothing happens, and here's what I really think is the most damaging thing to the country right now. The way and I don't know how you change it, but the way we hold our primaries with the two parties, I think some states like Louisiana do it right where they do. It's basically their primaries are open. And the top three, what is it? I think the top two move on to the general election.
It's called ranked choice. Yeah. They do it in Maine, they do it in Alaska.
Yeah, what our primary systems do now is just force each side further and further away from the center in order just to get win their party's primary. So all we get are the most extreme candidates from both sides. Whereas I think
what's extreme on the left? Tell me what's extreme on the left.
Like who? Or what?
No, tell me. Tell me. Like you said, extreme. Because let me back up a second. Would you consider like people who are far right MAGA extreme?
I don't like the word MAGA. I think it's used too often to because it's got these negative connotations to it. I'm a center. I'm center right,
though.
I mean, I'm a center.
That's not what I asked you. But that's fine. But that's not what I asked you. Well, I'm talking about far right extremism because we know that first of all we know the overwhelming majority of political violence, it's not even close, comes from far right extremists. So tell me what's extreme on the left. Because we're talking policies. So we're talking far right policies would be to, again, eliminate a woman's access to her body, or to mandate putting the 10 Commandments in Oklahoma classrooms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Passing laws to basically to disenfranchise marginalized communities, illegally gerrymandering districts between censuses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are extreme policies. Cutting funding for SNAP benefits for kids. Closing rural hospitals. Okay? Tell me what's extreme about the left.
You rattled off a whole bunch of stuff there that's debunkable. True. But I'm not going to even get into it.
Really? Name one. Name one that's debunkable.
Because in the last budget, they set aside money specifically to support rural hospitals. So while I get what you're saying.
Actually, that you're wrong. You know what? You want to know why you're wrong about that? I can tell you why you're wrong.
I can show you the line in the budget in the law where it's at, but go ahead.
Okay, well, what you fail to realize is that what the expectation is they're not going to support it through federal dollars, and they expect the states to pick up the tab. And red states, by and large, are already underwater. Red states need blue states to fund. Similarly with SNAP, same exact thing. Same exact program. We went through the exercise this week. So I don't know if you know that, but that's what they're trying to tell you. Oh, yeah, we've set aside this money. No, they did not. They just want the states to pick up the bill. I'm sorry to tell you that, bro, but again, I don't care if you believe me. You can research it yourself. You can read it. Because if you brought up the bill, that's where it came from. The expectation is the whole states' rights argument. The expectation is that the states are going to now pick up the bill, not the feds. So back to the question I asked you. Tell me what's extreme about the left.
I think the left has it out for private ownership. I think the left has more of a
policy. I gave you a policy. Tell me a policy. Don't tell me rhetoric. Don't tell me hyperbole. Don't tell me narratives. Give me policy.
Policy. Okay. I think that, again, I'm a Christian, but I think that we've created I think a lot of the laws associated with policy.
Policy, Ephraim. I gave you policy.
I know,
okay? And I didn't even get into rhetoric, because I could go there too. I could do an entire show all day on rhetoric.
Another big one I agree with you on is universal health care. I'm reluctantly for it, even though I know that there are downfalls to it. There's
downfalls to everything, but there's no economic or social argument against it. Why does the right vote against it? So again, give me an extreme policy on the left.
An extreme policy on the left.
I'll give you a hint. There is none. There is none. There is none. If you think extreme, if you think extreme is advocating for universal health care, or if you think extreme is saying we should try to find a way to forgive student loans because students are getting ripped off, or if you think extremes are wanting to cap fees from banks, that, by the way, the Trump administration just reversed that. Joe Biden got it passed that it was only going to be $5. Trump took that away. If you think extreme is wanting to make sure that kids eat in school, if you think extreme is wanting to make sure that women have rights to their bodies because it's a decision they should make between their doctors, then I guess that would be extreme. But does that sound extreme?
I'm 100% against the school feeding programs.
You're against kids being fed in schools?
I am against, and this is more.
Why would you? Seriously? And you're a Christian?
Yeah.
Why are you against Ephraim, I want you to listen to the question I'm about to ask you. Why, as a Christian, are you against making sure that American school children can't eat in schools?
I don't believe it's the government's responsibility to feed.
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked. I'm asking you because you're the one that said you're against it. Why are you against kids eating in school?
I'm not against them eating in school. I'm against the government providing food for them in school.
It's about food, though. So you're against kids eating in school.
I'm for personal accountability.
You're for personal accountability. So if a family is so poor in our economic system that they can't afford to feed their kids, you're basically saying tough shit?
I just find it contradictory when we have an obesity epidemic that you're telling me there's all these starving kids.
There are. Why do you think we have SNAP? Why do you think 40 million families depend on SNAP?
And they're mostly obese, so I'm not sure where that argument.
Wow, dude, you're a Christian? You're a Christian?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. You literally... I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's just proof that, you can have a conversation, right? You can have a conversation, maybe find some common ground on some certain things. But I think that the government should not be providing food for the citizenry. Wow. That's wild. We're so broken. Good morning, Ann. How are you today? Ann, are you there? Ann? Ann going once? Ann going twice? Sorry, Ann. That is wild. Don't feed kids because people are fat. Right. Wow. Hi. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay. I'm going to try not to yell. Okay. Can I comment on that as an educator?
Please. Please do. Please, please, please.
Okay. Sorry, that made me angry.
Yeah.
So children are not becoming obese from school lunches. Sometimes that's the only meal these children get.
I know.
And whether their parents eat healthy or not is not the point. School lunches may not be like the best food in the entire world, but I can guarantee you if that's the only thing a kid has to eat, they're not getting fat from a school lunch. However, study after study after study, and you can see this with our own eyes if you're an educator, hunger and poverty is one of the leading contributors to failure in school.
Absolutely. Along with other things.
Right. Because when you're hungry, you can't think, you can't concentrate, you have low energy, and you're distracted. So if we really want to see our schools improve and children do better in school, we can't have them starving. It also leads to behavior problems. It's a huge problem. And if you really get to know children over a period of time in a school building well enough, which not every teacher takes the time to do, granted, but some do, you often find that children with behavior problems, children who aren't able to finish work and succeed in school, are hungry and distracted and dealing with other issues related to poverty at home. So that school meal is not going to turn them from like a starving child into an obese child because they eat once a day. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's just a reflection of a desire to punish people for being poor and the decisions that you feel they make that are wrong rather than actually caring for the success of children in school.
I mean, it's you're right, obviously, Amber. You're right. It's to me, it's just so much deeper than that. So and somebody pointed this out in the chat, and yes, I will distinguish between, it's not easy for me to do because a lot of the oftentimes they get lumped together, but Christians and Christian nationalists, I'm happy to do that. I think there's an obvious opportunity here to draw that distinction. but a lot of them meld in the same pools. The problem is when faced with the prospect of just feeding kids, doesn't think the government should do that. So what purpose does the government serve then?
So
if you want to make the argument that the government serves no purpose, I just disagree. The government is there to protect people who, like our previous guest, don't give a fuck about.
I think
that was wild.
Whether people who say those kinds of things just come right out and say it or not. Whether or not they say it out loud, explicitly, when you hear those words, I believe in personal accountability or personal responsibility, what they really mean is that they have a low opinion of people who live below the poverty line. And so therefore, they believe that the parents should be punished. And if that punishes the children as well, oh well. That's what they're saying.
Well, you're right. The concept of punching down, like we see that a lot. Hold on a second. The concept of punching down, which we've talked about this before. It's just so easy to diminish people's belief beneath their mediocre lives. They have to look for somebody else to blame. It amazes me, to be honest, that you can have a conversation and try to find some common ground on lots of things. And when it comes down to something that everybody should agree on, no, we should just let kids starve.
And here's the other thing. We are legally required to send our children to school. If you don't, you get in jail. So,
well, you can, depends on where you are, because you can homeschool. You can
yes, but if you don't have the ability to do that, and most people don't, right?
Right. But just think about this for a second. Like, we're having a conversation. We go through the exercise of the Establishment Clause. We're having a conversation about, how we're not a Christian nation. He finds a little bit of truth to that. And then the simple question about feeding kids, no. We can't do that.
Right.
We can't feed kids.
I mean, the whole Founding Fathers thing is a really nuanced conversation. And
sure it is.
You have to read more about, like, what each of them wrote. But being... like, for example, even George Washington, though it says he was, Episcopalian or whatever, he was actually, he had a lot of nuanced beliefs. He believed more in a deistic concept where a God is not, like, having direct hands in the world anymore. So, I mean, and then there was several others also who were Unitarians, which is very different from what we're seeing now with Christian nationalism. Very different.
Very different.
So
yeah, I mean, people forget about the love thy neighbor, feed thy neighbor, clothe the poor. I don't know what the quote is, but that conversation to me was just so disappointing.
Yeah, it
We're
was.
talking about feeding kids. We're talking about feeding kids, and
I know we could both go on about this like all day. I think people already know the things we're saying. The people who listen to this regularly already know the stuff that we're saying. It's
agreed.
So hard to hear that and not say anything after watching, decades of watching children experience this. And knowing that the schools that I've been in that feed kids do so much better. It's just a hard thing it's a hard thing to accept that people don't want their, 50 cents taken away from them so that children can eat, when the consequence of that is so huge.
I agree.
So
anyway. It's a massive just, I don't get it. We don't get it. Why people would not advocate for things like that. The supposed Christians, but
right, because,
I love you, friend.
Like I said,
sorry.
Long-term consequences of starving children in school, hungry children in school, are so much worse on our economy if they really want to care about the whole economic factor that they feel themselves. So, all right. Thanks, Steve.
I appreciate you. I gotcha. See you later.
Bye.
Love you too. Think about that, right? James Vale, the DNC does not pay me, my friend. Your girlfriend does, because she says you can't satisfy her. I just want to let you know. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll fix it for you. To have an argument or to have a conversation about a whole bunch of shit that we can find, that we can talk about, that we can break down the Constitution, that we can have discussions about, making changes, and pretty much have agreement on lots of things that people on the left want to do when it comes to firearm violence. I give them examples of policy on the right that are extreme. I asked for an example of something on the left that's extreme. Can't name one. Then I said, well, why are the people on the right voting against kids having food? And his answer was, as a Christian, I don't think the school should be feeding kids because of obesity. Well, if the kids can't eat, then they're not obese. So how does that work? Man. It's staggering to me. It's just staggering. But it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that's right. Personal responsibility. I forgot about that. Jay Nice, how are you today?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Doing okay, thank you. What's on your mind?
So I don't know if people have seen it or not, but Jamie Oliver did a documentary or, a little experiment in 2010. It's called Food Revolution. And he went out to LA County, their school district out there, and he did an experiment with cooking fresh and like changing their whole food system. And one of the schools was like a school for, the kids with, I think like behavioral, problems back when we did that kind of stuff. And it was really, really neat because they interviewed the kids even. And I haven't seen it in forever. I saw it then because I was recovering from surgery, but it was just amazing seeing the kids' responses and just even changing the food for them. The cooks were not on board because they thought it was going to be so much more work. They thought the kids weren't going to eat it. The cooks even said it was so simple to do. The kids were enjoying it. The incidences of outbursts and behavioral problems like drastically dropped. It was even saving them money. It was cheaper than what, they had been doing with anything. It's really, really neat to see. I wish they would implement it, but,
Yeah. Big picture, just for Christians of all people to claim they're Christian and say, oh yeah, we shouldn't be feeding kids. Yeah, right. That's just disturbing. But thanks for jumping in today, Jay Nice. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Out there.
You too. All
right, bye. That's fucking wild. Jesus. Just as a reminder, friends, just in the link tree in my bio, I want to thank Fish Trucker for putting together a campaign to help get yours truly in our community over to YouTube. I need some hardware, need some technical equipment, need a bunch of stuff, and there's a GoFundMe. It's the first link in the link tree that's in my bio. There's nearly 700 people in here. If everybody gave like $1, we could bang that out in just a couple of days because I don't like talking about it. I want to thank Fish Trucker. I want to thank my mod community for doing that. I'm so incredibly appreciative of it. It's just something that we need to work on together. This is our community. This is our space that we all created together, and we need to kind of get over to YouTube to make sure that we still have a voice because we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok, quite frankly. So the link is in the link tree. It's in my bio. It's the first one you'll see. Thank you in advance. That's just wild. I'm still like, yes, we do. We do. I'm still just rattled from that whole thing. I'm just like rattled from it, but I should not be surprised. Okay, we were talking about some of the fact checking regarding the president's speech. Let's get back to the news. Some of the claims that was made, and specifically on some of the bullshit claims that he made. So let's talk about some of them. Climate change is a con. Renewables don't work, too expensive. Trump called climate change, quote, the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world. He warned that suicidal energy ideas would doom countries and claimed renewable sources are unreliable or prohibitively expensive. What the record and independent sources say. Scientific consensus as well as data from energy agencies contradict his dismissals. For example, in 2024, about 80% of global electricity generation growth came from renewable and nuclear sources. Many new solar and wind projects are cheaper than fossil fuel alternatives. For example, solar power plants that were on average 41% cheaper than the lowest cost fossil fuel option in recent comparisons. Experts emphasize climate change is real, primarily caused by human activities, and poses significant risk. Oh, and by the way, global energy companies, especially those in fossil fuel, are the largest investors in alternative energy resources. So, sorry, Donnie, you're wrong about that, and you're just lying. Turning point. Yeah, no, I don't think so. He ended 7 wars. We've already gone through that exercise this morning, but Trump claimed that during his presidency, he ended 7 wars. Fact checkers note that the idea of ending wars is historically and politically messy. Some ceasefires or interventions brokered within the U.S. involvement did occur, but many conflicts remain unresolved or were not ended definitively by his actions. Immigrants deported to El Salvador are criminals, and then record deportations. Trump thanked El Salvador for receiving and jailing so many criminals deported from the U.S. and said the prior administration had set records. Reporting shows that of the 238 Venezuelans deported to El Salvador in a recent case, about 90% had no U.S. criminal record, and many of the convicted had non-violent offenses, shoplifting, traffic violations, etc. Another lie. Electricity, gas prices are down. Energy production surged. Trump claimed that energy, electricity, gasoline prices were falling, and that he had unleashed massive energy production and ended inflation. Electricity prices in the U.S. have risen under his administration. They're up 5%. U.S. oil production has not seen a dramatic surge compared to the start of his term. It remained nearly flat in the months compared. Gas prices are up since Inauguration Day. Inflation is up since Inauguration Day. Unemployment is up since Inauguration Day. We've lost more jobs than we've gained so far this year since Inauguration Day. Broken escalator, teleprompter blamed it on the UN. Trump complained that the UN escalator stalled and the teleprompter froze, blaming the UN for those technical failures. The UN denied responsibility, stating that the teleprompter was managed by the White House, not by the UN. And additionally, reports claim that the escalator stopped because a U.S. delegation videographer triggered a safety mechanism. Other claims, inflation, London mayor, etc. Trump also made statements that inflation is defeated, that London's mayor would impose Sharia law, among others. These claims have been flagged by media and fact checkers as inaccurate, exaggerated, or flat-out lies. Trump's speech to the United Nations General Assembly was highly confrontational and included many sweeping claims. A number of his central assertions, especially around climate change, energy, economics, immigration, and his own record, do not stand up well under scrutiny. Fact checkers have called many of them false, misleading, or exaggerated. Some of the more symbolic and anecdotal claims, escalator stall, teleprompter blame, are contradicted by the records from the UN and internal responsibility. But nothing to see here, right? But it's all fake news. I just saw that. So then Jesse Waters had this to say. about the whole controversy in regards to the UN and what happened over there. So this is Jesse. This is Jesse Waters discussing the escalator. And I want to keep in mind that Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air, preempted, because of something that hurt Trump's feelings. And then Jesse Waters can say this.
And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it.
Or we need to bomb it.
And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it.
Or we need to bomb it.
That's nice. That's nice. We need to either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. And that tracks with what Brian Kilmeade said a week and a half ago, that houseless people should be involuntarily lethally injected. And then he had to apologize for that, but he's still on the air. He's still on the air. Nice. Nice. He's a global embarrassment. And there's Christian nationalists in our country who don't think kids should eat. And they support this guy. And the Christian nationalists in our country that don't believe that the trans community should exist, that the queer community should exist, that women do not deserve the right to their body, that women should have the right to vote, that women should not be believed. Start this flash goal. It's mind-boggling to me that we still sit here and people are, a Christian no less, a self-professed Christian said, I don't think the government should be feeding kids in school. Now you could say, I don't think the government, sorry, I got you. My bad. What did I do? What did I miss? Dallas. Okay. Apparently there's a shooting in an ICE facility. Did I miss that? Okay. All right. One deceased, 2 critically injured in a shooting at a Dallas ICE field office. The shooter is deceased, authorities say. At least one person is deceased and 2 others are in critical condition after a shooting at an ICE field office in Dallas Wednesday morning. According to Dallas Police Department, the shooter is dead. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons confirmed the shooting during an interview on CNN Wednesday, saying the perpetrator took his own life. Facility is located along I-35 East, just southwest of Dallas Love Field Airport. Law enforcement officials said ATF and FBI agents were on the scene to assist Dallas PD in the investigation. Dallas police officers responded to an assistant officer call at the facility around 6:40 a.m. The suspect opened fire at a government building. From an adjacent building, 2 people were taken to a local hospital with firearm wounds, and 1 person passed away at the scene. CBS News Texas confirmed no law enforcement officers were wounded in the incident. Hearts and prayers. Biggest concern as well, everyone in that area, but this just shows that violence has been increased against ICE officers and agents. Geez, I wonder why. Texas Department of Transportation cameras were near the facility showed a heavy first responder presence. While we don't know motive yet, ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence against them, and it must stop. This is Christy Nome. ICE officers are facing unprecedented violence against them. It must stop. ICE officers are facing violence. ICE officers who we don't even know are fucking officers because they're such fucking cowards they have to cover their faces. I'm going to do this real quick.
TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. We now return you to our regularly scheduled pandemonium, already in progress.
So, again, ICE officers are under threat. Maybe because they're violating people's human rights and actions have consequences, right? Don't the things you say and the things you do, aren't there consequences connected to that? I thought so. So ICE agents that we don't even know are ICE agents, that they've lowered their recruiting standards just to get people. We don't even know who they are. Don't even know. No idea. Who are they? They don't identify themselves. No officers were targeted. Detainees were hit. Is that what it's saying? Jesus Christ. Nothing to see here, though, right? This is how the vice president responded. The obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack and for their families. Sure, JD. No problem. By the way, Jimmy Kimmel's monologues on average for the previous 6 months averaged around 240,000 viewers. Tuesday night, 6.7 million people watched it. This whole situation with I'm sorry, I'm still reeling from that fucking phone call, or from that previous guest who it's a bridge too far to feed kids. Just a bridge too far. Just like, yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. Again, as a reminder, friends, there's a link in the link tree that's in my bio as we are planning on our move to YouTube. Could use your help. There's a GoFundMe there. You can read about the information. I want to thank Fish Trucker specifically for helping organize that, and my mod team. There's various categories of things based on your donation. I forget what they were. Someone might have to come up and tell me because I forget what they are. Shout outs here, roles in Discord, etc. But please consider helping us move because we need to get over to YouTube as quickly as it can. And this is our community collectively. So if you want to help us out, you'll find the GoFundMe. 700 people in here. Everybody gave $1. We could bang this out. No problem. More banging. Yes, the mods need some banging, apparently. Hey, don't we all? I mean, seriously. I'll just leave it right there. Anywho, I want to go back to the UN speech a little bit because there's a history with Donald Trump and comments made about NATO and the bang bang, exactly. NATO and the UN. And it's the reason that I think it's important is because we have history of the remarks that he's made and the damage that it's going to cause. For the American president, first of all, for the American president to just stand there in front of the world leaders at NATO and just basically scold them for all kinds of nonsense. For those of you who weren't here, there's one in particular that I think we could play. This one's wild.
Under my leadership, energy costs are down. Gasoline prices are down. Grocery prices are down. Mortgage rates are down. And inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging. Manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that. Almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States.
What about Biden?
In just 8 months since I took office.
Anyway, it's just comical. It's just comical. He's such a fucking embarrassment. Such embarrassment. Whoa, Torta. You proud of that display that the president said yesterday at the UN? Got to come off mute, Torta. There you go.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
Do you really think it was good?
Yeah. That's
so
not what I
it's
based
okay?
his performance on a speech.
I asked you about his performance at the UN, which was his speech.
Right, and I'm saying that's not what I based his performance as a president on, a speech.
I care more about policy. Oh, his policy? You mean his policies that suck? Those?
You think the migrant protection protocol sucks?
Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, it's the migrant protection protocol. He reestablished it on day one. Something Biden got rid of when he got into office.
Your source for that is what?
Are you denying that that's true? Want me to just pull it up for you real quick so you can be educated?
Torta, why? So Torta, do you care about First Amendment rights?
Yeah, they're not under attack, so yeah.
They're not under attack?
You think Jimmy Kimmel being fired by ABC is First Amendment rights being under attack?
He wasn't fired by ABC.
Right, he's back now. So why do you think his First Amendment rights are under attack? Because you guys were all in favor of like private companies banning Trump off Twitter, right? You were all in favor of private companies.
It's a private company. It's a private company. So
why is it not okay for Jimmy Kimmel's company to fire him?
Torta, zip it. Because you don't know the backstory. Because you, like most people, don't bother to look past the headline. Are you aware of Nexstar?
So you didn't even know what migrant protection protocols were. You didn't even know that Biden ended them.
Who said I didn't know?
Who reads the articles and who doesn't?
Torta, we're talking First Amendment. So do you understand do you know what Nexstar Tenga merger is?
What is?
What the Nexstar Tenga merger is? Do you know what that is?
No, I can't understand what you're saying right now.
Of course you can't, because you're dumb. Do you know what Disney's desire to buy Fubo? Do you know about that?
No, I don't follow Disney very much. I'm not a Disney adult.
I'm not either. That's why it's a violation of the First Amendment. Because I'm about to tell you. Okay.
Go ahead.
So Nexstar, which is a broadcasting entity who owns a lot of ABC affiliates that carry Jimmy Kimmel's show, Tenga also carries Jimmy Kimmel's show, and Sinclair Broadcasting also carries Jimmy Kimmel's show.
Sinclair
those companies. I'm not done. I'm not done talking. Nexstar wants to acquire Tenga, and to do so, they have to have the FCC's permission. Brendan Carr has already gone on record saying they want to change the protocols for FCC, which allows which mandates how much of a nation a particular conglomerate and or monopoly in the media organizations can hold. So don't tell me it's not a violation of free speech, because the FCC already came in and said we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Because the FCC says, hey, you can't put this on TV, or you can't put this on the radio, or you can't that's a violation of your First Amendment rights. How is that stopping you from saying it or doing it on your own platform?
If they take you up. What does Jimmy Kimmel do?
He has a talk show.
Right, he's got a show, and because the FCC, no, not very low views. That's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant because he could just go and make that show on YouTube, right?
Okay, well, so why wasn't he removed before though? If his ratings were so bad, why wasn't he taken down during the first?
Because he didn't make comments about Charlie Kirk. I don't know.
He didn't make a comment about Charlie Kirk.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
No, he didn't.
He tried to.
No, he didn't.
And also, not only that, spread misinformation.
We're gonna go back to no. You're gonna listen now. We're gonna go back to the conversation.
You still haven't proven how it's a violation of the First Amendment right.
Shut up, and I'll tell you. It's a violation of First Amendment.
So, like naked women on TV doesn't mean it's a violation of the First.
Stop talking. Put a sock in
your mouth. Okay? You're a grown man.
No, I'm great. You're
a grown man acting like a child. Calm down. Have a conversation.
You're fine.
Have a conversation.
Then be an adult. Okay, then when I mute you, behave like an adult. Behave like an adult. So when I mute you, you don't talk. Behave like an adult.
Thank you.
Torta, what did you have for breakfast today?
Not yet. I haven't eaten yet.
Nobody gives a fuck. Okay, let me see if I can have an intelligent guest. So the reason that it's a First Amendment violation, and I'll explain it to people in the back, when the FCC, who's required to sign off on a media merger, tells media entities that we can do this the easy way or the hard way, that is violation of your freedom of speech. Now, Torta doesn't give a shit because Torta's dumb. And Torta doesn't care about First Amendment rights being violated. Torta didn't care when Donald Trump pressured Twitter to take down a post that Chrissy Teigen wrote that said Donald Trump's a pussy-ass bitch. Torta lost his shit when that happened. But no, it doesn't fit the argument now, does it, Torta? Stop lying about the things that Jimmy Kimmel said. Just accept the fact that you support a baby bottle. How pathetic. You're right, she didn't lie. She didn't lie. You're absolutely right. She didn't lie. Chronic, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. I probably shouldn't be laughing at this because this situation is so tragic, but I've been wondering why other people that do what you do won't let Torta up on their platform, and now I know why. So thank you for providing me that information.
No problem.
Bye.
No problem at all. See you later. Sometimes you have to expose them, right? Give them a short leash. Tiny leash. Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Are you aware of what just happened in Dallas?
Yeah, we just talked about it. Is there an update? Is there another update?
No, I just scrolled in and saw you were still live, so I was like, I don't know if this is something that Steve has mentioned or not.
Yeah, I'm sure things are changing quickly. Last we knew, one dead, 2 injured, including the shooter, right?
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Yep. And Christy Noem's statement was kind of pathetic. I thought that these attack on ICE officers has to stop. Maybe they should stop fucking covering their faces and identify themselves. How about that? That might be nice.
Well, that's a big claim considering the only people that were injured were detainees.
I know. Exactly. I know. Yeah, somebody just said, oh, just another Wednesday in America. It's true. It's true. If anything changes and you're still in the live, feel free to jump back in. All right, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man. See you later. Yeah, detainees are the ones. Yeah. But nothing to see here, right? I'm sure that the left did that. I'm sure that the left is the one that are stoking the political violence, right? Of course it's the left because we're radical. I would like somebody to tell me one radical leftist policy. Actually, they will say feeding kids is radical. Name one. Name one radical leftist policy. Name one. I'll wait. Oh, yeah, that's right. There is none. It's fucking crazy. Crazy. Airwolf, how you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. I've seen you around, especially in that one live the other day. We got a problem we got to talk about. It seems like military vets and veterans and active military personnel are being, how do I say the word, indoctrinated. It's like they're actually believing that Trump is this great soldier, that he could lead us into battle and he could lead us into, if you're a veteran, you have to be a Republican. It's your duty to stand up for this country. You have to be a patriot. This is being disseminated from the top down, and new officers and new airmen and new sergeants that are going in are now spreading this information around that you're weak if you are open-minded, or you might be a little bit on the left. You're weak. You're not a true soldier. I've been watching these lives with these so-called veterans. You were in one the other day where the guy claimed he was a combat, blah, blah, blah. And he was sitting there, he wouldn't even let you talk for 5 seconds. And, we got to understand that we have a problem here in America. And it's okay to talk about it. You're not weak if you talk about it. And that's one subject. And now we got another one. I am autistic. My daughter is autistic. And now I think we're going to be targeted even worse. This comes from a gentleman that I grew up in the 80s. I was looked at different, treated different, because nobody understood what I had. It took me all the way up to I was about 43 years old before I was diagnosed, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. So now they're telling me that I could possibly been cured by not taking Tylenol. This is going to lead to a lot of targeting, we don't get funding anymore. There's no funding in schools. There's nothing to help, kids that are struggling. Now with the DOE going away, how are kids going to learn in this country? How are kids going to be successful? For me, I wasn't on my autism scale. I'm high functioning, but I still needed extra time to take tests. I still needed extra time to learn things. I still needed, time to process information. Now with this administration, he's punishing me. He's actually making me feel it's like my fault that I have a daughter that's autistic. It's my fault that I didn't do something. I don't understand where we're going with this, but this is going to be a lot of bad things are going to happen.
If there's a saving grace in this, Airwolf, is that there's a friend of the show. Her name is Daniela Mestinick Young. She goes by the Knitting Cult Lady. She's a friend of the show. I consider her a friend, and I just love her. And she grew up in the Children of God sex cult, and then she joined the army. And she talks about, so she understands high control environments, and she talks about how Trump does not have the military. He wants people to think that he does, but he doesn't. So I know what we see is a microcosmic example of the reality that's out there, but I trust her because she has people that she knows that are still connected, and I'll bank on that he doesn't have the military.
I hope so. I mean, every time I get on here, I see another military vet saying, they actually attack me because of my service in my military branch. Yes, I'm a part of the United States Air Force. But last time I checked, we're all one team. We all do the same job. We all have the same mission statement. We may do it differently, but there's a job out there. And I don't despair. I used to wrestle with Marines when I was on my post. We used to have fun. We didn't, make jokes about it, but now it's become stronger. Now, mostly on the right, it's, you didn't deploy. You're not a real soldier. You didn't do this. You're not a real soldier. You probably flipped burgers. And my point is, even if I did flip burgers, I still was providing a service to this nation. I gave up, my body, my time, everything I could for this nation. And even if I did flip burgers, I don't care. I'm still part of the service. I still took upon the oath to say, you know what? I want to do this, it's getting more and more chaotic out here. The more I stay on it, they're trying to, now they say, you got to show your 214. Now you got to show this. Now you got to show this. It's horrible. Whatever happened to the respect that we used to have for our veterans?
Well, a lot of veterans in active duty just have ignored their oath, and they've broken their oath, Wolf. So the respect has to go both ways,
I'm trying to, I don't care if you're a conservative. I have no problem if you're a conservative Republican, because when you put on that uniform, that BDU top, you were neither of those things. You didn't know what you were. You weren't allowed to talk about it. And about, what has it been, a year? Remember when Trump went to Fort Bragg and he had those soldiers behind them? That's illegal. You can't buy political gear in full uniform. You're not allowed to do that. And, and then when I saw them and I went deeper into the story, they were actually vetted. Those soldiers, those men and women up there, because unfortunately, Mr. Heck's death, women can serve, and so they're some of the best soldiers I've ever served with. They were there and they were vetted. They were checked on their allegiance to Donald Trump. They showed that they were those people. When Donald Trump, remember that article that came out in the book from John Lilly that said that Trump wanted to, how do I quote this for TikTok? Laser beam people in the leg. Remember that article?
Yes, I do. Yeah, with rubber bullets during the Lafayette Square. Yeah.
Those soldiers behind with that were rooting and hooting and hollering and in uniform with MAGA hats on will carry out that order. They will do that with a smile on their face.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe some, sure, but not the majority.
It's just a scary time, and now we have this, and there's no talk. Charlie Kirk could have been a symbol. Hey, we got a problem in America. Something's wrong. Let's come to the table. Let's fix this. Now we just had another one today. How long do you think it'll take for Donald Trump, who literally just told half the world nations on the planet that you suck, literally to their faces, literally told him, how fast do you think when he comes back to the United States that he'll blame this on some sort of leftist ideology and not talk about a problem? It's okay. We have a problem.
Yep.
How fast?
Of course. It's happening already. It doesn't. They'll look for an opportunity. I mean, the right uses human suffering and tragedy to try to amplify some message that's usually based in lies. So just plan on it.
All right.
Just plan on it.
Get back to your show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you and your service. And thank you, my friend, for being here. I don't know. I hear his fear, but I hold Daniela in really high regard, and I trust her. And she talks about that, about how he doesn't have the military. He thinks he does. He probably knows he doesn't because of the way in which he acts. But I'm just watching we've discussed these things before. The reason that people think that Trump's speech was great yesterday because they're just dumb and they're in the cult. People who don't think Charlie Kirk, the things that he said was racist because they're racist. People who don't think what Charlie Kirk said was bigoted or transphobic or homophobic is because they're bigots, transphobes, and homophobes, quite frankly. People don't think that what Charlie Kirk said was, echoed white Christian nationalist sentiment is because they're white Christian nationalists, period. Christians don't think we should be feeding kids in school. Christians shouldn't say we should not be welcoming our neighbor. And they crash Grindr. Yeah, we know that. Make it make sense. Make that make sense. Anyway. Hi, Patricia. How are you? Patricia? Are you there?
Right here. I didn't mean to press
Hi there,
you're talking to me.
I'm sorry?
You can talk. I didn't mean to, I'm just pressing like, so.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. You guys, look at this comment. Gosh, this is such a, where did he say it? Hold on, I'm gonna find it. Hold on. Look at this comment. I think Rambo needs some attention. Are you homophobic, Rambo? Are you homophobic? I'm not gay, but would that be a problem? So are you admitting your homophobia? Should we check your search history, Rambo? I'm curious. Just interesting that you would make something, that you would use this space to say something like that and to think it's an insult. It's interesting. I don't know why you would do that, Rambo. That seems like a weird flex that you would do that. But, I'm sorry for you. I'm really sorry for you. I see you sitting in the live. I see you over here watching. Nice profile pic, by the way. Gosh, I know you're right. And my nails aren't even painted today. That's right. Right. Exactly. Forgot all about that. Okay. I want to go back to some of the claims that the Trump administration, or Donald Trump in particular, has made about NATO and the UN, because it's pretty wild. He's probably one of the ones who crashed Grindr. You're right. Let Rambo down easy. He was really hoping you were. I know, you're right. Rambo, I'm sorry, my guy. I mean, hey, look, I'll swing with the best of them, but you're probably not my type, but that's okay. Although Donald Trump was not a public political figure in the early 1980s, there are a few references from later decades indicating his views on the UN and NATO in particular. Key themes over time included skepticism about cost sharing, burden shifting, questioning the U.S.'s obligation, and occasional praise when it aligns with U.S. leverage. So in 1987, in a Larry King interview, Trump expressed skepticism of burden sharing, saying the U.S. was playing disproportionately with NATO. This is one of the earliest public statements linking Trump and NATO criticism. So this is NATO and the UN. Actually, let me move down to the UN specifically. Pre-2000s, before his presidency, sparse public record, but some postings on Twitter, for example, criticism of UN actions on the Israel-UN disputes. In 2011, he tweeted, "Why is the UN condemning Israel and doing nothing about Syria? What a disgrace." 2012, he tweeted, "The cheap 12-inch square marble tiles behind the speaker at the UN always bothered me. I will replace with beautiful, large marble slabs if they ask me." 2015 to 2016 campaign. He called the UN not a friend of democracy, not a friend even of the United States. He criticized the UN as weak, overstaffed, and overcostly, arguing that the U.S. funding was disproportionate. These formed part of his populist, against the establishment, globalist institutions messaging. 2017, at his first United Nations General Assembly speech as president, he said the UN was underperforming and had tremendous potential. He complained the U.S. pays 22% of the UN budget and 30% of peacekeeping, calling this unfair. He also called it a club for people to get together, talk, and have a good time rather than act. He combined criticism with calls for UN reform. 2018, at the UNGA, he said the UN has unlimited potential, but argued that funding burdens need to be rebalanced. He set a cap. U.S. would not pay more than 25% of the UN peacekeeping budget. In 2019, at his 2019 UN address, he emphasized peace cooperation, that the U.S. would defend its interests, and then just recently, over the last couple of days. So he's never been a fan. Never been a fan of the UN, never been a fan of NATO. Friends, who benefits if NATO crumbles? Who benefits if NATO countries become divided? Who benefits if NATO decides that they're not going to continue to support each other? Russia. Yeah, that's true. And then this kind of sudden shift in his rhetoric is kind of staggering, because here's a statement that he made. This is more about the United Nations.
I mean, we shouldn't have any wars if the UN's really doing its job. I know they were involved originally with Russia, Ukraine, and that didn't get done because that was the time to stop it. But no, I always say about the UN, fantastic potential, but it's all about the people. You know, you can have a wonderful concept, but if you don't have the people, the UN has never lived up to its potential. But I'm the example of it. We do all these wars, and we weren't helped by the UN. We weren't hurt by them, but we weren't helped. They didn't do anything. And they're supposed to be solving these problems.
It's because you didn't do anything, you dumbass. Here's some more from the mind of MAGA. Hold on. So I have that. Hold on a second. Do I have that?
These are MAGA's words of wisdom.
Think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Mr. President, any update on your talks with President Putin, and do you still trust him?
I'll let you know in about a month from now, okay?
President Trump, your message to the...
to provide Ukraine with the security guarantees the same way as European allies?
Well, that's later down the road. We'll be talking about that. Hopefully, we'll be in a position to talk about that a little bit later on. It's a little bit too early to answer.
Why do you think Mr. Putin is not willing to meet with both of you?
President Trump, your message to President Orban, who is refusing to stop buying Russian oil.
Well, he's a friend of mine. I have not spoken to him, but I have a feeling if I did, he might stop. And I think I'll be doing that.
Thank you. What progress do you think has been made on ending Russia's war against Ukraine since the last time you saw President Zelensky?
Well, the biggest progress is that the Russian economy is terrible right now. As you know, it's crashing. And that, frankly, Ukraine is doing a very good job of stopping this very large army. It's pretty amazing. You know, this is a war that should have ended in 3 days, 4 days. People said it was going to be very quick, and you got to hand it to the Ukrainian soldiers.
Wait for it.
Everybody involved. It's still going on, and that's not a good thing for Russia. This was supposed to be quick, and so you know, Russia doesn't look very distinguished, having taken 3.5 years now, right?
Okay. Well, there's reporting, and keep in mind, one of the major selling points for the conservative movement was, especially those elected officials in Congress, was no more money for Ukraine. We're not going to fund Ukraine any longer. And there are people that vote for MAGA, who vote MAGA Republicans that are out there that believe that the funding has stopped. Well, it hasn't. And now, because there's a massive shift in president's foreign policy as it relates to that region, President Trump's pivot could give him room to distance himself from a conflict that he once promised to solve in days or weeks. This is reporting from the New York Times. This is from yesterday. President Trump reversed himself on one of the key foreign policy issues of his presidency on Tuesday, abandoning his insistence that Ukraine give up land to strike a peace deal with Russia, and instead declaring that Ukraine, with the support of Europe, was in a, quote, position to fight and win all of Ukraine back to its original form. Interesting. His turnabout on social media shortly after a meeting in New York with President Zelensky of Ukraine was a head-spinning pivot, to say the least. After his 3-hour meeting with Russia's President Putin in Alaska more than 5 weeks ago, he insisted that Mr. Zelensky would have to face reality and make a deal giving up territory to its larger and stronger neighbor. Mr. Trump provided no rationale for his stunning turnaround, though several European officials suspected that by distancing himself from the war, the president was washing his hands of a conflict that he once promised to solve in days or weeks. In his 8 months in office, Mr. Trump has ricocheted from one position on Ukraine to another. In February, he slammed Zelensky for insisting on American aid, yelling at him in the Oval Office, "You don't have the cards." In the spring, he cultivated Mr. Putin, exempting him from tariffs. This summer, he rolled out a red carpet in Alaska, literally. Now he sounded as if he was siding with a new Ukraine, or I should say, was siding anew with Ukraine, while also taking something off a backseat, ending the words with, "I wish both countries well." Hours after he declared Ukraine could win over the Russians, perhaps even taking land beyond its own boundaries, he was contradicted by his own Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio. Rubio said the war in Ukraine was, quote, cannot end militarily, and predicted, quote, it will end at the negotiating table, reflecting Mr. Trump's previous position. In Alaska, Mr. Trump had taken a similar position, even promising to meet with the two adversaries together to hammer out an agreement. He had rejected the idea of pressing Mr. Putin for a ceasefire, declaring that a full peace accord could be more permanent. With Mr. Rubio, Mr. Trump was even in discussions with European allies about creating some kind of post-peace accord security force for Ukraine, one that he said could include American air support to protect a no-fly zone over Ukraine. So the question now is, how is MAGA going to accept that? How? How are they going to accept that? First of all, told them, end the war in 24 hours. They cheered it on. Told them that he is going to be, he's the one, he and only he could end these wars. We know that that's not true. We know that none of it's true. So now he's pivoting. And I agree. This is him attempting to step back, knowing that he can't end the war. He can't put pressure on Putin because he's got no cards. And Putin's been mocking him. So instead, he's going to choose sides. And now he's choosing the side of Ukraine in an attempt to say, I settled the war. Exactly, Kipper. It's crazy because he's incompetent. He has no foreign policy. None. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How you doing? My name's Legiterally.
Hello, Legiterally. What's on your mind?
So what you're saying is that you're rooting for our president of the United States to look stupid in front of the world. That sounds like a smart idea.
I don't have to do that. He takes care of that on his own.
That's a smart idea, rooting for the president of the United States to look stupid.
He takes care of that on his own. It's got nothing to do with me.
You do realize you live in the United States, genius?
I do. So do you, genius.
You're a moron.
Thank you. I love you too.
You're Anything like, else? In order to win this battle, I'm just going to destroy myself in the process. You're an idiot.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you. Anything else? Okay. Yeah. But again, it's not, it's the right that wants to conjure peace, right? Yep. Kind of funny that you're sitting up here cheering for the president to make an idiot of himself in front of the world. I don't have to do anything. He does it every single day. Every single day. Every single Kipper. Sorry. They're such simps. It's crazy. Yeah, here's your tissue, MAGA. Anybody else in the box? Can you just imagine being that just... You think it's a flex? Hello, friend. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. Not too bad, thanks. You?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. In the interest of our Anglo-American relations, I come up to read you a little bit more about the Reform UK Party Conference, as featured in Byline Times, written by Ollie Haynes. And today, it's just fortuitous that the section I'd put aside was for net zero and MAGA climate policies. So the influence of the MAGA right was also apparent in discussions about net zero. At the fringe event hosted by the American climate change denial think tank to the Heartland Institute, its UK and European head, Lois Perry, claimed that she has been an advisor to Reform. I've been very fortunate to be able to consult and influence the Reform Party at the highest level. My organisation, the Heartland Institute, has been credited by our quote-unquote dear leader with actually being the people that have moulded the policy on net zero, she said. Perry claimed that carbon dioxide was not a pollutant and suggested that carbon emissions were not harmful to the environment, dismissing government policies as Marxism and calling net zero this government's horse of Troy. 3 senior Heartland figures were invited to the White House by Donald Trump during his first term for his announcement withdrawing America from the Paris Climate Agreement. The Institute has historically received money from fossil fuel firms, including ExxonMobil and Murray Energy. Perry's revelation that Heartland is advising Reform suggests that climate change denial aspect of the MAGA program is being copied across the Atlantic.
Wow. There's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. Anything else on your plate today, friend?
That's all for today. I just wanted to get that across. Again, just highlighting the parallels between Reform UK and MAGA, because they are all funded by the same people. They are all working together on this.
They are one and the same.
Christo-fascist agenda. And I think it would behoove all of us to come together as people around the world to say, here's how we deal with this. Here's how we work together, because this fight is bigger than just one of our countries. There's many of them, and working together is how we solve these issues.
Yes and no, but I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you for being here as always. You ready for your slide out?
Yeah,
all
ready.
Right. Okay. I mean, in my attempt this morning to have common ground, apparently feeding kids in school is a bridge too far. Apparently that's we can't go past that. We cannot feed kids in school. Okay. Just a couple more fact checks from or just a couple more statements that he's made regarding his disdain for the United Nations. Criticized UN inefficiency and U.S. overpayment, pitched America first sovereignty, talked up U.S. accomplishments, reiterated caps on U.S. peacekeeping shares, and emphasis on sovereign nation states. 74th UNGA repeated sovereignty themes. U.S. would cooperate where interests align. It's just the same thing. It's the same old thing. It's the same old thing. More and more of the same. He has been super critical of NATO for years. Super critical of the alliance. These are allies. These are allies, right? And why would we continue to? The left is the embarrassment. Look at the last 4 years. Okay. Yep. The left is the embarrassment. This is the world we live in now, you guys. I don't know. I can't. It doesn't, well, how do I want to say this? The exercise that I've gone through this week is an attempt to try to say who the actual enemy is, right? The threat is the billionaire class. That is who the threat is. They are the ones that are propped up by corporate lobbyists. They are the ones that are benefiting from tax cuts. And primarily, the biggest political advocates and supporters of the billionaire class is the GOP. Their tax cuts, their deregulation, the fact that they're changing policies so that consumers have to pay more, wanting to gut the Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We got the President of the United States, the most corrupt person to ever sit behind the Oval Office. It's not even close. It's not even close. I'm so tired of this both sides bullshit, of this both sides argument. It's just fucking chaos. And we heard it this morning. Literally, a bridge too far is feeding kids in school. We went through the exercise yesterday with RFK and all that bullshit about public health, the lies that he told. We went through the facts. We went to the sources about how there are no connections to autism and vaccines. There are none. Still, the number one over-the-counter remedy for women who are pregnant persons is Tylenol, acetaminophen. Take it in small doses. Consult your physician. Right? And again, the bridge too far is kids, is feeding children. These people who call themselves Christians are just fine with letting kids in our country fucking starve. And they're cheering on Trump's speech yesterday. It's insane. It's insane. I just want to go through the list of corruption again. Trump ordering the DOJ to prosecute his enemies on Truth Social. Basically telling Pam Bondi, let's get on with it. Why is Shifty Schiff not behind bars? What about Letitia James? What about James Comey? Apparently there's an indictment coming down on James Comey. How funny. James Comey was partly responsible for Donald Trump getting elected because he was the FBI director at the time, violated FBI policy by opening up an investigation into Hillary Clinton like 3 weeks away from the election about her emails. James Comey, that guy who helped get Trump elected the first time is now apparently a threat. So we're going to indict him. Why? Because he said bad things? Borders takes cash. $50,000. 50 grand that we know of. There's no denying it from him. Triple K said, oh, he didn't take it. Well, Triple K, I don't know if we can believe that. Because it's on tape. And what did the DOJ with it? What did the DOJ do? They buried the story. They said there's nothing to see here. We've done our investigation. The Kash Patel FBI, the same Kash Patel that said we don't have any credible evidence. It's a statement he made in his congressional hearings. We don't have any credible evidence that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked anybody other than to himself. Funny that Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking young girls, not only to JE, but to other people as well. That same Department of Justice. We're supposed to take their words for it? Pentagon now wanting to say, unless you report on exactly what we tell you to report on, we're going to pull your access. Again, MAGA doesn't give a fuck. They don't care about the free press. They don't care about censorship, because if they did, they'd be like, why the fuck is Brian Kilmeade still on the air? Because he literally called for houseless people to be involuntarily lethally injected. Killed, in his own words. Jesse Waters now saying, we either leave the UN or we bomb it. MAGA doesn't care. They fucking love that shit. You spank it to violence over in the corner. You know, you'll get off in like 30 seconds, but whatever. You don't fucking care. It's because you like it. You like that shit. So once again, here we are defending your rights. Defending your rights to free speech. Defending your rights to be sure that you can getting free access to the press. Defending your rights. Defending your children's safety. Defending your right, the rights of your kids to fucking eat. My God. Defending public health. Saving you money. Talking about legislation for universal health care. Saving you money. Passing legislation to cap to cap bank fees at $5. I was in a live with somebody, we were talking about that. And I was blown away. I thought this is easy. Like, so Trump reversed. So just so you know the story, the Biden administration during their administration created a scenario where banks were capped. I think it was $5. Bank fees were capped at $5. Trump comes in and changes it. Who benefits? So going back to $35, $30 or $35, whatever the number was. So I'm thinking that's something we can all agree on. That's something we can easily agree on. That'd be a piece of cake. We should all be aligned on that. And I said to this person, I said, what about this? This is money out of our pockets. This affects everybody. And his answer was, and I shit you not, I'm sure Trump has every reason in the world to do it because I'm sure his friends will like it. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck did you just say? And then he left. Just helping his friends get richer and richer because it was passed by a Democrat. because good policy is good policy. I don't fucking care. Fees for banking, TJ. Bank fees, overdraft fees, predatory fees that the Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau is actually there to protect. And what did Elon Musk want to do? Get rid of it. And have you got your Doge check yet, by the way, TJ? Mods, TJ back. I think he wants back in the throuple. Too late. He lost it. These things affect everybody. These should be apolitical issues. Feeding children should be apolitical. Making sure the kids have access to clean water, clean air should be apolitical. Should be. It's not. We live in a representative democracy, Randy, in case you didn't know that. The United States is a representative democracy, Randy. Why are we arguing over shit like that? Why are we arguing over feeding kids? Why are we arguing over public health? Because the billionaire class is just laughing. They're sitting at their high-rise restaurants with exclusive access behind the velvet ropes, eating Wagyu steak and drinking Dom. And kids are fucking starving in our country. And the Republican Party politics props that shit up and then lies to the American voter. Notice somebody tried to say, I'm going to debunk your story about no, you're not going to debunk me about food. We've gone through the exercise. I'm going to debunk you about SNAP benefits. No, you're not. If you read the bill, you would know that the federal government just wants to shift the burden of that to the states. The states that already can't afford it. The states that already can't afford to feed their citizens now have to take on more burden. Same thing with rural hospitals. You don't understand how Medicaid, Medicare funding works in rural hospitals. They depend on it. There's already hospitals in our country that are already underwater under our current system. What's going to happen now? They're going to close. People are going to get sicker. People are going to die earlier unnecessarily just because they can't go to the doctor. And the fucking Christians in our country cheer that shit on? Come on. Really? I figured you'd be too chicken to come up, Randy. That's fine. They're closing everywhere. They're closing everywhere. Why? Why? Somebody told you waste, fraud, and abuse? Find me the waste, fraud, and abuse. Not what you were told. Find it. Find it. You sit up here every single day. You go in your fart-smelling spaces where there's 7 people on the panel and 9 people in the live. And all you do is shout back and forth at each other. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Radical leftists. Threats to democracy. Blah, fucking blah. And we're out here saying, listen, we just want kids to eat. We really would like to feed kids. We would kind of just like to make sure that kids aren't starving in schools. We really think it would be a good idea for people to have health care in our country. because that would help everybody. We really think that the majority of Americans should be able to earn a living wage. Every American should be able to earn a living wage. We believe that every American should have access to affordable housing, shelter, food, water, healthcare. We believe that shit. Why don't you guys? Where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you? You don't believe that shit. We feel like we need to address the number one cause of death for children in our country, or firearm violence. Where are you? Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? We don't want United States tax dollars, funding more foreign wars. Trump's talking about going back into Afghanistan to take Bagram Air Force Base again. Why? Why the fuck are we doing that? Why? Are you suddenly cheering that shit on? Why? Have you ever, just for a moment, mouth breathers, just asked yourself those questions? Like, why aren't we feeding kids? And you know what? If you guys want to run on that and say the Republican Party has saved public education, food at public educations, at local elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and you want to run on that, I will fucking stand up and cheer for you. Because to me, it shouldn't be political. Because to me, it should be about feeding fucking kids. Exactly. But we're backing Israel. By the way, they have universal health care. MAGA, did you know that? Your taxpayer dollars funds the country of Israel to have universal health care. Oh, and by the way, and women can get abortions on demand if they want. Did you know that? You probably didn't know that, did you? It's because you don't pay attention. I don't know. Frustrates the shit out of me. Why the fuck are we arguing over feeding kids? Why? I would love to speak to somebody who's a Trump voter and tell me why you are not advocating for increasing programs like SNAP as opposed to cutting it. Tell me why. You can't answer the question, because instead what you'll say is personal responsibility. Stop lying. Okay, Jersey girl. Jersey girl, then you can request if you want to, but you probably won't because you're afraid. You don't want to address it. You don't even know who supplies the kids' lunches? What are you talking about? Whatever. It's racism. Sure, it's racism. It's I think we'll stop there. I'm frustrated. Another reminder, in the link tree that's in my bio, the Friends of the Community had decided that they want to try to help support me with the move over to YouTube. So there was a GoFundMe that was created by our friend Fish Trucker. It's the first link. It's in my bio. I think that there are some criteria for donation levels. I forget what they are, but we'll get that posted in the Discord. So if you haven't joined our Discord yet, please consider doing that. Let me check, Tona. I haven't checked yet. Hold on a second. Stand by. Thank you. Tona, thank you so very, very kind. I really appreciate you. YouTube donation for me and for others. Thanks for all you do. You make a difference. I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind. Thank you so very, very much. You guys are amazing. And also Leah, thank you as well. Appreciate you guys. Look, we're going to keep talking about this shit because it's unacceptable. It is still the us versus them. It is still our government does not give a fuck about the everyday working American, the people that are out here busting our asses. But I'm in the fight. I've got an amazing team behind me. This is a community that we've all built together. We care about each other. We're going to work through this kind of shit. I do need to get to YouTube. So any help you can offer there would be really appreciated. Again, the GoFundMe's over there. You can reach out to one of my members of the mod team for whatever the donation levels are. I think they're $5, $25. 50, 125. I forget what they are, but we'll post them in the Discord so you have that. Who are we going to raid, guys? Anybody want to let me know who we're going to raid? I'm sure Danny's probably. People are checking. Hang tight. By the way, I won the appeal on the mains. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's go raid. We're going to raid Doug. Everybody knows Doug. Doug lifts. Let's go raid Doug. Tell them we said hello. I love you guys. Smartest chat on TikTok.